them.
Obama
Reagan
did not
took
take
them.
documents.
Oh, he didn't?
The difference here
He
that I'd like
Take
to
a look.
note,
Reagan
the National
took
Archives
them.
says that President Obama
Even
did
Jimmy
not
Carter,
take
even
documents.
Mike Pence had some documents, and he's a
You
very
referenced
honorable
Pence,
guy.
you referenced
But you know who
Biden.
took them more than anybody is Joe Biden. He has 1,800 boxes.
That's
And
not
nobody
accurate,
even
Mr.
knows where
President,
they
and you
are.
know that.
1,800, and nobody talks about him.
Mr. President,
And they
that's not
put
accurate.
and they put a rough guy on us, and they in the
I think
meantime
it's
they have
important, Mr.
nobody.
President, to actually set the record straight here. They took documents, including President or Vice President Pence. When they realized they had documents, they turned them back over. The difference is that you waited to turn yours over, and it was a year-and-a-half effort that included a subpoena with those documents. One question about what happened when you had those documents.
It included a raid on my house. That's what it included.
But
they didn't raid.
You'd gotten a subpoena, and they had not been
house.
turned over yet.
They didn't raid Biden's house. You know what happened? They put him in the house. That's the one with the Corvette, where the documents were laying all over the floor. That was fine. And you know who happens to be at Mar-a-Lago? Secret Service, and they're phenomenal. I have Secret Service. He didn't have Secret Service. The other thing, the vice president cannot declassify. He didn't have the right to declassify. He has documents from when he was a senator. And even Democrat senators say, I can't believe it. No, I went by the Presidential Records Act.
That's not
and
what
we
the
were
Presidential
negotiating
Records
with
Act
NARA.
says. That's not what it says,
And
Mr.
NARA
President.
has red flagged a thing called the Constitution of the United States and the Bill of Rights because they consider them
Mr.
dangerous
President, that's
documents.
not what it
Those
says,
are
and I should note that there is a special counsel investigating your document situation, also President Biden's document situation. When it comes to your documents, did you ever show those classified documents to anyone?
Not really. I would have the right to. By the way, they were declassified after. Not that I can think of. Let me just tell you, I have the absolute right to do whatever I want with them. I have the right. I was negotiating with NARA. Do you know what NARA is?
The National Archives.
Extremely
negotiate
left group
with
of
them.
people. Extremely left. And I was negotiating with
They're
them.
not
All of a
left,
sudden,
they're
they
bipartisan.
raided my house. They didn't raid the house of Joe Biden. They didn't raid Obama.
But Joe Biden didn't ignore a subpoena to get those documents back like
Joe
you
Biden
did. And so
took
that's the question.
1,850 boxes.
But that's the question that investigators have, I think, is why you held on to those documents when you knew the federal government was seeking them and then had given you a subpoena to return them.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Can I talk?
Yeah, what's
you
the
mind?
answer?
Do you mind?
I would like for you to answer the question.
Okay, it's very simple to answer.
That's why I asked it.
It's very simple to. You're a nasty person, I'll tell you.
Whoa.
Can you answer why you held on to the documents?
I was negotiating, and we were talking to NARA, that's Washington, to bring whatever they want. They can have whatever they want. When we left Washington, we had the boxes lined up on the sidewalk outside for everybody. People are taking pictures of them. Everybody knew we were taking those boxes. And the GSA, the government service, the GSA was the one taking them. They brought them down to Mar-a-Lago. We were negotiating with NARA. All of a sudden, they raid our house. When Biden had his documents, he won't give back the 1,850 boxes. And you're going to find some real gems in there.
But it was
so
Biden who
can't have
alerted
all
them that
these
he
different
had the
sets of-
documents.
all
The
these
National
different
Archives
sets of-
reached out to you to get your documents back. Why did you not turn them over when you got a subpoena
Because we were
asking for you to turn
negotiating
them
with
over?
them. We were negotiating with them as per the Presidential Records Act. We were negotiating with NARA.
That's not what the
Very
Presidential
nice
Records
people,
Act says. I've
but they
seen
got to
it.
love our Constitution a little bit more, and they shouldn't red flag it, by the way. Very nice people. We were negotiating with NARA, and that's what the Presidential Records Act says, because Richard Nixon, surprisingly, had problems, and he had a lot of problems dealing with NARA, and they ended up passing legislation called the Presidential Records Act just for this kind of a thing. We were dealing with them. We were talking. Excuse me. Wait a minute. Wait. We were talking to them. We would have done it, but all of a sudden they raided the house. Now, why hasn't the FBI raided Biden?
But I just explained to you why.
No.
It's because he's the one. They alerted the government that they
Okay.
had those documents and had them come and get the documents from his house.
No, they
My
didn't
question
take
for you, though, when it comes to documents, do you still have any classified documents in your possession?
Are you ready?
Do you?
No, I don't have anything. I have no classified documents. And by the way, they become automatically declassified when I took them. But
No,
why?
you have to declassify
Let me
them.
ask you a question. Why is it that Biden had 9 boxes in Chinatown? and he gets a lot of money from China. Why is that? And
There
why,
is no
why
evidence
aren't
of that,
people?
Mr. President. No, you cannot
why
say
aren't
that. There
people
is no
bringing that
evidence
up?
of that, Mr.
And why don't they
President.
put this
What
guy
you're
Jack
referring
Smith
to
and his
is an
group of
office that he had.
thugs?
Mr.
Why don't
President,
they put him in charge of that?
I need to stop you right there because there's no evidence of what you just said there. What you're referring to there is an office that he had after leaving
That's at the University
vice
of Pennsylvania.
presidency.
Wrong.
He had a temporary office. But I want to ask you about another investigation
You're so
that you're
wrong.
facing.
You don't know the subject.
I do know the subject.
He had
and
one
I do
at
know
University
the
of
facts, Mr.
Pennsylvania,
President.
but he also had
I want to
9
move
boxes
on to another
in
investigation that
Chinatown.
you're facing, which is the one
She
that's
doesn't
happening
understand
in
it.
Georgia, where they are investigating there your efforts to overturn the election results in the state of Georgia.
did
At the
nothing wrong. It was
center
a
of
perfect
that,
phone call.
let me finish my question. At the center of that is that call that you had with the Secretary
Perfect
of State,
call.
Brad Raffensperger.
Yeah, sure.
Given the fact that there are indictments expected to come in that case this summer, is that a call you would make again today?
Yeah, I called questioning the election. I thought it was a rigged election. I thought it had a lot of problems. I guess he's Secretary of State. I called. Listen to this. There are like 7 lawyers on the call, many of them from there. We're having a call. We're having a normal call. Nobody said, oh, gee, he shouldn't have said that. Why? If this call was bad, I questioned the election.
You
if
asked
this
him to
call
find
was
you
bad,
votes.
I didn't ask him to find anything. Let me
We've
just tell
heard
you,
the audio
if
tape,
this
Mr.
call
President.
was
There's an
bad,
audio of you asking him to
I
find you
said,
11,000
you owe
something
me
votes.
votes because the election was rigged. That election was rigged. And if this call was bad, why didn't him and his lawyers hang up? How dare you say that? This was a perfect
Well, they were
phone
clearly
call.
concerned enough. They recorded the call, and I should note that, of course...
This was a call that was made to question the results of election. And when we can't make a call to question election results, then this country ought to just forget about it.
You weren't just questioning the election results.
I was
you were
questioning
asking
the
him
election.
to find you votes. And I should note that there is no evidence of fraud. There is no rigged election in the state of Georgia. I want to get back to the audience, though, Mr. President, because those are false claims you're making about what happened in Georgia. Jordan Sullenberger is here. He's an undeclared voter from Hollis. He voted for you in 2020. Jordan, what is your question for President Trump tonight?
Thank you, Mr. Trump.
Thank you very much.
I'm 26. I'm a veteran. I help manage a private aviation company.
You want a job?
I'd love one, yeah.
I'm looking for somebody very good.
I'm not for mandates or government interference in private business, but
Right.
I've seen Republicans going after us like DeSantis after Disney.
Right.
What would you do as president to protect us from government interference?
Well, I'm the one that really wants to protect you. All of these fake investigations of me are about election interference. They think because I'm leading Biden by 11 points, 7 points, 9 points, I'm leading DeSanctimonious by a lot. By 40 points or 45 points. I think he ought to just relax and take it easy and think about the future, because right now his future is not looking so good. I will tell you this. We are really putting it to Biden, but he's putting it to himself because the economy stinks, inflation is horrible, and the border is a disaster. And by the way he got out of Afghanistan was the single most embarrassing moment in the history of our country.
Mr. President, I have one more question for you here tonight, and I think while we are in front of the voters here in New Hampshire, this is a fundamental question for you. You are running in the 2024 race. If you are the Republican nominee and you are in that 2024 race, will you commit tonight to accepting the results of the 2024 election?
Yeah, if I think it's an honest election, absolutely, I would.
Will you commit to accepting the results of the election regardless of the outcome?
You want me to answer it again? If I think it's an honest election, I would be honored to. And right now, we are so far ahead of both Democrat and Republican. And you know what? If I don't win, this country is going to be in big trouble. It's so sad to see what's happening.
But no commitment there on the accepting the results regardless of the outcome.
If it's an honest election, correct, I will.
Okay, so not committing to accepting the 2024 election results or acknowledging what happened in 2020.
Go ahead.
President Trump, I want to thank you for coming here tonight. This is an important conversation with voters to hear and to have. Thank you to our audience and to our host, St. Anselm College. CNN's coverage continues with Anderson Cooper and Jake Tapper.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Caitlin. Thank you, Caitlin.
Let's let him walk up the stage.
Thank you very much. I like you guys. We love New Hampshire. Thank you, Woody. Good luck, Woody.
Thanks, everyone.
We're looking there at St. Anselm College in Manchester, New Hampshire.
Okay.
Tonight's
What's he
CNN Town
whispering
Hall,
to the
moderated by
audience?
Caitlin Collins. The first of the 2024
Look,
presidential campaign is now in the books. Good evening from New York.
From Washington, and it was
He's there talking to the audience, and they cut him off.
Yeah.
He's hamming it up. Okay, he's obviously going to win New Hampshire now, right? This is signed, sealed, and delivered.
No, he didn't win New Hampshire at all the first time, did he? Isn't New Hampshire pretty blue?
Well, I mean, in the Republican,
Oh, you mean their
yeah, primary is what we're looking at here.
Okay, so
I was taking notes. Were you taking notes? So
I was taking notes.
Sitch and I, we're gonna watch this. I made the mistake of watching Pac-Man ahead of time, and he was saying, "I'm not gonna do this." I talked to them at YouTube, and they said they were gonna strike anyone who does it. So we didn't do it live. And then I saw Tim Pool is streaming it. Crowder
Literally
is
everyone else was
streaming
streaming it. So
Yeah,
we're like, I guess we'll be fine.
yeah. So we just figured we'd jump in for the last minute, but we were going to jump on after the fact and talk about it. I was taking notes all the way through. Go ahead, give me your reaction.
Okay, so overall, we'll talk overall, and then we'll jump into specifics. Overall, okay. First, to answer Zero Fox question, that lady's cat's name was Vagina. I did write that down in my notes. We'll talk about that. But so overall, I think Trump did pretty surprisingly well.
Yeah.
He did very good. When he first started, his energy was a little low, but pretty quickly he started to get back into it. His energy came up. The crowd was firmly on his side. He was doing a lot of his Trumpian rhetorical tactics, tricks and tactics, his debate tactics. He had a part where the host was like asking him all these questions about January 6th, and he comedically reaches into his jacket and he like pulls out a bunch of papers that has like the timelines and his tweets and all the things he said on January 6th, and everyone's like going crazy for this shit. And no, I mean he was definitely seemed to be in pretty tip-top form tonight. I think people that thought, maybe that he was going to be, I mean, if this is an indication of how he's going to be during the primaries, I think he's going to smoke DeSantis and everyone else. He seemed to be kind of back to his old self again. So he looked really strong tonight.
Yeah, the entertainment value was huge.
Yes.
Which is kind of interesting that, that's how we're evaluating elections now. I've heard
who's funnier?
Well, yeah, I've heard other people say, and you were the first one to kind of tip me off to this about DeSantis really being kind of a wet sponge as far as like entertainment value. And in this day and age, you really have, I mean, it's really celebrity versus celebrity. And Trump does have that celebrity factor that I don't think DeSantis has. DeSantis is trying to muster it, but I'm not sure DeSantis could do what Trump just did. I mean, he was assaulted basically from question one. And I question what CNN did optically here, because the host, I mean, it was almost a debate between Trump and the host, and the host came off completely unlikable in my estimation.
Yes.
And it made Trump seem far more likable, because she just seemed like a nagging ex-girlfriend the whole time. And it made Trump's kind of constraint around that and not getting flustered by it and kind of staying on point, and even her chiming in with periodic barbs and whatnot. I just think that played to Trump's advantage. What is your take on that?
I think you're completely correct. Because basically what was going on, if you didn't watch the first part of the debate, I mean, I keep saying debate, the town hall, because it felt like a debate.
But it was a debate, basically.
Yeah, it was. She'd ask him a question, and then if he said something that wasn't true, or she thought wasn't true, that was Trump. So whenever he'd say something that wasn't true, she'd be like, "Oh, that's not true," and she'd try to like push back on him and kind of keep interrupting him and say, you stop saying this, it's not true, blah 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 blah. And I think a big problem is, first of all, it's kind of weird if the host is doing that. I guess I think generally our perception is, if he doesn't answer the question and she keeps pressing him on that, that's kind of like, oh, okay. But to keep fact checking him and literally everything says, I don't know, maybe you like that, maybe you don't like that. But I think optically, relating to what you're saying, and I think this was their thought process, but I think it's stupid. They want to paint Trump as like a sexist. And, Trump had the verdict the other day, or was it today or yesterday, with the $5 million defamation suit against him.
Yeah.
And I think they want to have like this is what I'm guessing like the left wing mindset here at CNN is. Like we're gonna have a strong independent woman come, and the Democrats are gonna like it because the strong independent woman is gonna come and she's gonna like stick it to Donald Trump.
Right.
She's gonna hold them to account. But as you said, it's hard to walk that line. I think it's doubly hard for women to walk this line than it is for men.
Right.
There is a sexist element here, but I think it's hard for women, especially, to walk that line of like being aggressive but not coming off as like a bitch in these sorts of conversations. So I think CNN should have really had a guy do this if they wanted to have the host like interrupt Trump and tell him that he's lying. I think you needed to have a guy doing it and some like really kind of non-whiny guy do it to have like some
Yeah,
sort of gravitas.
I think a guy would have been much better. I mean, obviously, if we were filming this for a movie, you could probably get a performance out of the host that didn't come off as bitchy, but it would be like 20 takes, and you would like really evaluate each take individually. To do this in a live performance is, I mean, you're exactly right. Walking that line is super tough. And she's not going to walk that line on every single question. I took, I was kind of writing down the questions so we could kind of go for them. But let's jump
Nice.
to the indictment that just came down, which is some sort of sexual assault case, and the having the woman host completely plays into this because, I mean, Trump was basically giving his version of events, and I mean, I was buying his version of events. It does, obviously anyone who's in a celebrity situation, they get these people that sue them for things that never really happened, or just they make up stuff. And even if this actually happened, I still think there's enough plausible deniability in people's minds just from the fact that Trump is a celebrity. He said, listen, I own all the buildings around. Why am I why am I in a dressing room with this woman? Like, if I really wanted to do something, wouldn't I just go across the street to to the building that I own? I mean,
Well,
he didn't say this, but he kind of implied it.
I don't think that's a good reply because it's like you could be in a situation where you just, you're there with someone and you just kind of hook up with them. You're not going to necessarily be like, oh, like come across the street with me, right? Especially like with her story, which part of the thing is it's weird is like, okay, I don't know. Did you watch Trump's deposition that he gave for this?
No, I didn't. Did you?
So, yeah, I watched parts of it. I didn't watch the whole thing. I think Trump lost the case because his deposition was so dog shit. It was like bafflingly awful.
Really?
So yeah. So what the woman is alleging is that basically she like went to this department store. She sees Trump there. They talk, and it's really weird. They're like she says that they're like flirting about something, and he's like, "Oh, can you help me buy like lingerie?" And then he asks her if she'll like model it for him. And then she's like, oh, maybe, but like, you should model it for me. And so they're obviously like flirting, according to her own story. And then she goes in with him into the changing room. And she says she thought he was gonna like model it for her or something. And then that's when she says like, he pushed her against the wall violently and sexual assault happened.
Right.
And it's like it's a really weird fucking story because it's like, first of all, if you're a woman, what the fuck are you doing? Right? Why would you be like flirting with some guy about, modeling underwear for each other? And then if he's like, "Oh, will you come into this changing room with me?" Like, where do you think this is going?
Yeah, you kind of expect that, right?
Yeah, that's why like it's like what do you think is gonna happen? Like obviously there's something sexual is about to happen, right? Like you're gonna go in a changing room with someone.
I see why you listen to the deposition. I'm like on the edge of my seat here.
Well, this is all her story. This is I haven't even got the Trump deposition stuff.
Okay.
But this is part of the problem because Trump claimed he didn't know who she was because he says the whole thing's fake.
Right.
And so he couldn't make the claim that like it was consensual because he's just saying it didn't happen, right?
Right.
But then I think the fact that her story is so weird actually helps her because, most people think, oh, if you're just making up a story about Donald Trump raping you, wouldn't you just be like, oh, I was minding my own business and Donald Trump like, grab me by the pussy and throws me in like the room. Like you wouldn't make up the story that makes you look like an idiot, where you're like, oh, I was flirting with him, and then I like willingly walked in the changing room with him, right?
It sounds
just
like
seems
this happened now.
right. That's what I'm saying, because her story is so bad, it makes it sound more realistic because it
Right.
makes her look like an idiot. And then you combine that with now I'm not I don't know if the story happened or not. I'm always skeptical of these like 30-year, away or 20-year
Sure,
away
sure,
sexual assault
sure.
claims.
It seems
But then,
credible though. So obviously
well,
he meets her on
yes,
the street, they get in a flirtatious thing. They end up in the dressing room and he makes a pass at her.
right. And
Yeah.
then so the evidence that they allowed into court was there was a couple people she knew that she told at the time, or at least they testified, of course. They testified at the time that it happened, that she told them that this happened. And then they allowed in, and some people were saying this shouldn't have been allowed. It was kind of controversial. They allowed in some other women who claimed that Trump did similar things to them, where he would just kind of like accost them in the same way. And then they allowed the jury to hear the ground by the pussy tape.
Of course.
Um, and then this is where Trump, like for Trump's deposition, it was so bad because he's like, they ask him, they ask for, okay. So first of all, they ask him if he did it. He says, I don't know who this person is. And then they show him a picture and they're like, oh, can you identify like the people in this picture? And he points to the woman who's accusing him of sexual assault. And he says that that's his wife.
What?
Yes, they show him a picture that has the woman and some other people in it. They're like, oh, can you identify the people in this picture? And he starts identifying them and he points to the woman who's accusing him of sexual assault and he thinks that's his wife. And they're like, what? They're like, that's not your wife. That's the person saying that you sexually assaulted them. So that really hurts Trump because he was all like, oh, she was too ugly for me to be attracted to sexually assault her. And now
Oh
he's
my
confusing
God.
her with his wife in a picture.
This is his first wife?
Yes, his first wife. Yeah.
Right. Ivanka?
Yes. Not, no. Or no,
Ivana?
how many times has he been married?
I think only twice.
I thought he was married to like some woman named Marlene or something.
Oh yeah, you're right. 3 times.
Yeah. I think he was married to Marlene at the time. So they play that for the jury for him doing that. And then they ask him about how do you feel about or do you still stand by the ground by the pussy thing? And then Trump basically just shrugs and he's like, well, he gives kind of like a funny Trump answer. He's like, well, that's just the way it's been throughout, history, it's good for some people. And then he kind of pauses like, well, it's not good for everyone, I guess. Like, it's just like, and the thing is like, it's funny, but this is like a fucking trial. If someone accusing you of rape, you don't really want to be funny to the jury. You want to like be fucking serious and be like, very like, oh, I did not do this. Like, this is completely ridiculous.
It sounds like he did it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it
sounds like he doesn't want to get a perjury charge thrown at him. He's like, yeah, I did it.
Like, well, he's saying he's a knower, so he's not concerned about that. But, so I don't know. I don't know if he did it, but I think that how poorly his defense was, and it just didn't seem like him or his lawyers were taking it seriously. And I think that's really what lost him the case.
Wow.
Because it's hard. I mean, I don't think it'd be that difficult to try to disprove like a 20-year-old, sexual assault claim. That's basically just on, her testimony and the testimony of 2 people who are claiming that she told them at the same time. That's not really strong evidence.
Well, just the way that you lay it out, if I'm on the jury, I'm thinking, he did it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's just, but I think what happened was so what they did was they said he was not guilty of rape, but he was guilty of slander and he was guilty of sexual assault. So I'm guessing.
Well, that's
everyone's speculating.
Tough. Yeah, that's tough.
I'm speculating.
Sounds like she was asking for it. So.
Well, a little bit, but I'm speculating. That people, the jury would be like, well, it seems like something happened, but they weren't like 100% confident enough. So they're like, well, it's not rape, it's sexual assault, 'cause we don't know, right?
Right.
Just like,
it seemed like it might have been consensual and there had been some regret after the fact that he ghosted her or something like that.
Yeah, well, I don't remember what the claim of how quickly afterwards she told her friends that because her friends testified that she told them that she was sexually assaulted / raped.
Right.
So specifically.
Okay, interesting. So, but I do feel like my perception, I don't think has changed in that I think Trump won that exchange.
Oh yeah, no, in the town hall, I agree with you.
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
You have all this extra information that You know,
Well,
I'm
they don't
not
go
even
into
sure with
everything,
the
obviously.
extra information, it changes my opinion, to be honest with you. So,
Oh, actually, no. Okay, so while they were talking, this is pretty funny. While they were talking about the CNN lady was asking him about this. He says, he says, the lady, she accused me of rape. She called the black man an ape, but they said I couldn't bring that up in court. I was like, what the fuck?
I
And then
know.
he says, oh, and she had a cat named Vagina, but the judge wouldn't allow that in. It's like, what the
What
fuck?
is what is that? What is having? I mean, it's funny having a cat
I
named
don't know.
Vagina, but is that just
I
his
don't
way of
know.
saying that she was super horny all the time and was
I
asking
I
for it?
guess I mean I guess that's what he was saying. I mean it is weird if you have a cat named Vagina, but
How did he find out that she had a cat named Vagina?
I
He
don't know. That's a
like
good question.
he
How did
must
he
have
find
hired some
out?
kind of private investigator or something.
Though he did maybe make a mistake because at the end of that segment he called her a whack job.
Right.
And so he has to actually walk this careful line because
Oh yeah.
obviously he's going to appeal the slander suit, right? But if you get sued successfully for slander and the court finds you guilty of slander and you keep slandering the person, like I'm
Well, I,
assuming they could just keep suing you.
a whack job, I think he's got some wiggle room there because that's a
Yeah, yeah,
personal
yeah.
opinion. Like I
Right.
think it's
Why?
like
Right.
false statement of fact is the slander claim, and
Well,
him
mhm.
saying that nothing happened. If something did happen, that would be slander.
Yeah,
But
I don't know
calling her
how
a
that
whack job,
works.
I don't think. I think that
No,
he's
no, no,
entitled
right.
to his opinion. Yeah.
I don't think whack job pushes the line, but I'm just saying I think he's got to be careful.
Yeah, it
He
doesn't
can't go
look good.
full blast on her. No, but I would assume that even like if someone sues you for slander and you say you're innocent, even if you're found guilty, I mean, I think you could still say you're innocent forever. I don't know if you lose the ability. I don't think you lose the ability to say you're innocent, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know, but so I don't know. That's interesting. But the first question they asked was all about the election being rigged.
Yeah, very pointed opening question, and they
Yes.
got straight to it, and they even backed it up with a question. Like, so not only does she ask a question about the rigged election, they have some dude in the audience stand up and ask, will he suspend this polarizing election fraud talk? And
Hmm.
it's almost like a plea. Please, President. Please, Trump. I love you. Please stop doing this.
Right, right.
So, what was your take on that?
And
On
Trump
that?
was basically like, nah, I'm not gonna stop.
I know. Oh man,
Yeah.
so many people. Okay, so I guess the question is, does that hurt him or not? I mean, obviously there's a huge part of the electorate that believes, and I think it's even like maybe as high as 30% of the base believes that the election was stolen and is going to be all over that. That's like red meat for them. But I do think there's probably, a substantial number of voters who don't want to hear that shit.
Hmm. Well, here's my gut intuition on it. Um, I don't think he gains anything by talking about it. I think he only loses by talking about it.
Hmm.
But he's in a difficult situation because, like, if he's like doing a speech and he keeps bringing it up, I think that's stupid. Because I think it makes him, I don't know, it just comes off as like, okay, we've heard this like a million times, get over it, right? It's time to, what are you going to do for the country, like moving forward? However, he's in kind of a difficult situation because I think with a lot of these, when he's running for president and all these debates, it's not like he's going to be bringing it up. People are going to keep asking him about it, and they're going to always ask him about it repeatedly, repeatedly, repeatedly. So he's kind of forced to keep talking about it.
Right.
Um, so he can't really back. There's no way for him to back down from the claim. It's like
Because he's a
literally
loser.
impossible.
It's a lose-lose.
Well,
If
he's
he's
invested way too much into it. He can't back down from now. It look insane, like it look preposterous. So he's kind of forced to defend the position. I mean, I don't know. I think what he should do is he should still defend the position, but he should try to change the subject as quickly as possible, just to get off of it. I don't think it helps him to go on the election was rigged stuff again and again and again.
Yeah. I mean, a good response would have been, "Well, she brought it up." Like, to the guy
Right.
who's like imploring him to stop talking about it. Well, you brought
Right.
it up. Like, like
Right.
keeps bringing it up.
Right.
Because you're
Yeah, maybe.
right.
Maybe, yeah.
You're right. He is
Maybe he
forced.
will, yeah.
Well, I don't. If he says, she kept struggling to get him to admit that he lost the election. If
Yeah,
he
which he
admits
doesn't
that,
do, right?
of course
No,
he
he'll
doesn't.
never admit that. It's ridiculous, yeah.
But if he does that, doesn't he come off like more of a loser? He even made a little quip in there where he said, we won it twice. Now we have to win it a third time.
Right, right.
Which a lot of people cheered when that happened.
I think if Trump admitted that the election wasn't rigged, he just loses. I just, that'd be such a weird, like, there's so many people that support him that are so heavily invested in that narrative. He can't come out and say that that's not true. So, but
Right,
that's why
because
they're gonna keep asking him.
he would be abandoning those people.
Yeah, or
There
they'll
are
say like,
people
"Oh,
on
so you
both
were just,"
sides of that narrative. Yeah, how does he walk that line?
because they'll say like, "Oh, were you just lying about this whole time?" Right?
Right.
But I mean, CNN and these people, they know that, so they're just gonna keep hitting him over the head with it, try to make him look bad. I mean, I don't know how much it's gonna really help against him, but it doesn't help Trump. So
Are Republicans going to start hitting him over the head with that? Are Pence and DeSantis going to hit him over the head with that?
No, I don't think so.
That's a tough call, huh?
There's too many Republicans that believe the election was rigged narrative. That would be very dangerous for a Republican to try to bring that up in the primary, like as a strike against Trump.
So you want to move on to January 6th? The next question is actually the third question, but it's she asked him if he had any January 6th regrets. And Trump immediately turned the blame onto Democrats for January 6th. His narrative was basically Trump and the mayor of D.C.
You mean Nancy Pelosi?
Oh, yeah. Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of D.C. had control over security,
right?
And they bungled it. And he was willing to help them as much as possible. And Trump said they turned him down.
Mm-hmm.
So he completely shifted the blame over to them. There was a interesting moment where the host started going after him for the people that were killed on January 6th, and Trump brought up Ashley Babbitt, who was killed, and called the police officer who killed him a thug.
Yes,
which was a
crazy.
little. I don't know how that plays with law enforcement, which obviously I think a lot of people that are Republicans are against the January 6th stuff. So I thought the thug line was a little far. What's your take?
No, I agree with you. I think that's a pretty big. I think it's an optical mistake. If he wants to bring up Ashley Babbitt and just say it was a tragedy and that she didn't have to die, like kind of just be like neutral with language, that'd be fine. But to call the guy that shot her a thug, and then to claim that he was like bragging about it on TV afterwards, I don't know. That's way too far in the other direction. Yeah. I don't think he's gonna. I think he's only gonna put people off. I don't think he's gonna gain anyone from that. It's like, so.
Well, Republicans are the party of law and order. Like, and he even when he brought because she was contesting the timeline, doing her little fact check thing with him, and
right.
Trump had the history of events, the timeline on sheets of paper in his pocket. And after a while, he's like, okay, I got to pull these out.
Right.
There was a disagreement over when he posted the video telling everybody to peacefully go home.
Right.
And she called him on that. It was like 4:17. And he said, no, you're wrong. And it turned out to be like 4:17.
Yeah. So, he was like, well, it was a little bit before that.
Yeah. But 4:16 and 30 seconds or whatever. I don't know. You'd figure she's familiar with the timeline. Right. But then he also said, look, I did a tweet 2 hours earlier here. So, I mean, it takes time to make a video, I think, is what people will tell themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that exchange, I mean, he did not want to take any responsibility for January 6th. Is that a good play for him? I mean,
what else is he supposed to do?
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course. I mean, first of all, that's been Trump's move for literally everything. It's deflect, 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 deflect. Whenever someone, I'm trying to remember. I don't remember him ever saying like, oh, we messed up and I take responsibility. Like his move is that's his number one move is to deflect and dodge. But I just realized while we were talking about this with the Ashley Babbitt thing, it is a contradiction because if in the beginning of the questioning about January 6th, he kept saying, I offered 10,000 troops. It wasn't my fault. It was Nancy Pelosi, who has control of the Capitol security, blah, 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 blah. Like, it was all someone else's fault. Because what she was asking him specifically, she kept asking him specifically, why did you not do anything for 2 to 3 hours when the riot started?
Right.
That was the question she kept asking. And that's when he kept just saying, well, I offered them troops on a different day. It was Nancy's fault, blah, blah, blah. So he kept kind of saying it was other people's fault. But so if he's going to say that January 6th was everyone else's fault, that implies that he's acknowledging that January 6th was a problem, that it wasn't a good thing, right? So then how can he then turn around and say that the person that shot Ashley Babbitt is a thug? Because he's sort of like acknowledging that the situation was out of hand. But then to say that she shouldn't have been stopped, it's a somewhat of a contradiction. I don't know if anyone will pick up on that, but
yeah, I see what you're saying.
Because he wasn't saying like, oh, everything was fine and the people were peaceful. He just kept saying it wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault.
Yeah.
And then someone asked, it was a little later. Someone asked if he was going to pardon everyone associated with January 6th, and he did actually. I was actually surprised to hear this. He didn't. He said he would pardon some of the people, but not everyone.
Well, that's an admission, just like you said before as well, because he did say things.
Yes.
Some people got too out of hand.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, he said some of the people were, too violent or out of hand. I don't remember the phrase he used, but he did acknowledge some of the people were too violent and should be put in jail. So it's kind of, which is not what I would have expected him to just say. Everyone should go free. So I do give him some kudos for at least, being like, yeah, maybe some of those people deserve to be arrested.
And she obviously wants to hit him over the head with the Proud Boys, like every good CNN host wants to do, right? So
that's probably why he said what he said, because then he can just say, well, he'll leave the Proud Boys in jail, right?
Right. Yeah. I guess there was some Proud Boy arrests, so obviously she wants to take the opportunity to pin the Proud Boys to Trump, even though I have never really seen any conclusive evidence that the Proud Boys are racist or white supremacists or any of that kind of stuff. But I think it's important to know that perception is often reality in these political fights, and that the perception is that they are all, bleeding white supremacists, which is kind of sucks for them, obviously. Well, he also said, in the very beginning of the exchange, it sounded like Trump said that it was something he didn't plan and that he was just invited to give a speech, which is the ultimate, like, what? Well, wasn't even my thing.
Yeah, that was weird. You're right. I forgot about that. That was super weird.
Yeah.
He did say like, oh, I was just there to give a speech. You're like, what? What are you talking about?
I mean, no one would have came if he didn't promote it, obviously. So
yeah, that was strange. Well, it's the deflection, deflect.
Well, and okay, so let's also talk about the thing that is going to get us accused of TDS until Election Day, obviously. So there was an exchange about Mike Pence being able to throw out the electors.
Yes.
This is not funny, man. I don't know.
Yes.
Should we just not talk about this?
No,
I feel
we
like
should talk about it. I knew as soon as you brought it up, I was like, oh, I'm gonna want to talk about this because you have your theory about Mike Pence, but
Mike Pence is running, obviously. I mean, he's dead fucking last, but he is running. And so Trump gives us a lot of information that I've never heard this information before. Have you read any articles about this information? This seemed brand new to me.
What are you referring to?
Well, he's talking about the various exchanges that he had with Mike Pence. He's saying, look, Mike Pence, I talked to my lawyers. Mike Pence talked to his lawyers. I told Mike Pence that you can throw out the electors, told him to pick these states where he thought there were more votes and that ultimately he would win the election, send those back to the states. And Pence said he talked to his attorneys and his attorneys told him, no way, it's just a ceremonial role. You can't do this. And so Trump and Pence are going back and forth. a lot of people have sort of contested the narrative that Trump was asking Pence to throw out the electors. And
that he was pressuring him. Yeah, he's admitting to pressuring him.
Right.
Basically.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right.
So a lot of people have contested that narrative, but that narrative seems to be completely factual because Trump is admitting to it right here. He's saying, look, I told Pence, throw out those electors. So he was putting pressure on him. It wasn't, it seems like that's why the January 6th stuff took place. But not only do we get that Trump is putting pressure on Mike Pence, he believes that Mike Pence could have thrown out the electors, still believes that, and is using the fact that they made sure that it was clear in the law. I guess the law was unclear beforehand because they recently did like a electoral counting act or something like this in Congress.
Make sure, there was no interpretation.
Right, to make sure there's no interpretation in the law.
Right.
And maybe you know better than I, but I'm assuming there's some sort of case law or something that is backing this up. That, sometimes laws are obviously
I don't think there
unclear.
was. I think that was the problem. Like,
Right.
this is never.
Right.
I don't remember. There was something about some weird incident, I think, like super early in the America's history about this, but like after that, it was nothing like this really ever happened.
Right.
So
Congress comes in, shores it up, and Trump is basically saying, "Well, this is evidence that Pence could have totally thrown it out." Which I don't. What happens if Pence does that and throws it back to the states? I mean, that's just such a crazy scenario to me.
Well, that's what potentially causes the constitutional crisis / civil war that Tim Pool's worried about.
Right.
That would be so disastrous for this country. I really do. I don't like Pence, but I do think he really helped protect the country by not doing that. That would have been fucking insane.
Well,
if that happened.
I'm thinking the whole time, I'm like, this is your moderator. Jump in. This is your chance. Ask him what happens if Pence does that. Say, okay, well, let's say Pence does do that. What was supposed to happen after that?
Because
what
let's walk through the scenario. So if Pence actually did that, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So what happens is then it would go to the Supreme Court to make a decision. And now if the Supreme Court was, I would say actually, ruling based on keeping the country together, they would say, no, you can't fucking do this. But, of course, there was 3 appointed justices by Trump. So who knows? Maybe they would go in the other direction, right? If they went in the other direction, I honestly, and they threw it back to state legislatures. And if the state legislatures then, the state legislators could have still just said, no, we're going to stick by the vote, right? They could have done, so there could have been yet another stopgap where the state legislators said, no, we're going to stick by how people voted.
But the state legislatures, I remember all of this very well. The state legislatures that they were going to send it back to were in Republican control.
No, I know that's why they were going to send it back to them. But I'm saying, I'm just saying,
they could,
right?
Yes, they could go with the will of the people, or they could say, hey, fuck it.
Right. But then if the state legislators had just said, fuck it, we're going to vote for Trump, I honestly think this would have caused a violent military civil war in our country if that would have happened.
Right. I don't know.
We did come, I think that's the closest we've come to in our lifetime to having some kind of civil war. Because this would just be like such an obvious, so the Republicans just declare that Trump wins all of a sudden based on no evidence. Based on speculation, they just declare it.
Well, I'm curious.
You think the Democrats? You think people in the military are just going to be like, our Democrats and the generals are just going to be like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, we're going to accept this. Like, that would be fucking insane.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like kind of historically the Cuban Missile Crisis. We've learned a little bit more and more as time goes by about how close we came to nuclear war. And I feel like this might be the same kind of situation. Like every time we learn a little bit more, we're like, oh my God, we were literally on the brink.
Well, fortunately, there were 3 stopgaps. There was Pence, Supreme Court, and then the state legislatures. And fortunately, the first stopgap, Pence, stopped it. So we never really had to see what would go on, whether every domino would fall in that direction.
Right.
So that's good.
Well, this is going to be interesting discussion between people who are Republicans and conservatives, because I have heard people say, "Oh, he wasn't trying to pressure Pence." Like recast January 6th as something
I mean,
completely
that will
different.
that talking point will just get ignored and fall away, right?
Right.
People say, well, they'll lean back on the argument that he could technically legally do it, which to me is, whether we're going to make sort of this kind of vague which is funny, the Republican Party, the party of like strict interpretation of the law, suddenly going to rely on some vague, interpretation of something that obviously was never meant to be interpreted that way, that no one has really used for like, 200 years or whatever. Suddenly now they're going to try to make this argument, but so first of all, I think it's completely bullshit. I think the legal argument is 100% bullshit. But even if it wasn't bullshit, it's like the idea that you basically are going to potentially start a civil war on speculation of voter fraud that you don't actually have evidence on is so reprehensible to me. But people don't. A lot of people just say whatever, they want him to win, so it doesn't matter.
One more thing before we move on from the January 6th stuff. I do, and specifically on the Pence could have done this, and the legislature sealing up the loophole is evidence of this. How I feel I have a very different take on this than most people, but just set that aside. I'm sure you were in the same position. How did the exchange go in the town hall? Because they went back and forth on this, and I felt the arguments Trump were making would be convincing to the average voter.
About what specifically?
About Pence being able to throw out the votes, and that there was this loophole in the Constitution that they could have exploited if they had the balls to do it. But those Republicans just didn't have the gonads to step up. I feel like there's going to be a lot of people who have that attitude.
I think the majority of Trump supporters will and still probably do support the idea of Pence throwing out the votes. They're not really thinking through it in the chain of events of, potentially causing a civil war based on speculation.
Well, Trump even said the Democrats are destroying this country, and that's the justification for it. They're like, we got to do anything.
Right, but see, that's the thing, because it's like, because if it was true, right? If you had like solid proof that, oh my God, the Democrats,
stole an election,
stole the election in these couple of states, right? Then you would say, oh, well, then it justifies Trump doing this because he's doing it defensively. Because that's always the way you frame everything. Oh, I'm doing it I'm doing this crazy thing because they did a crazy thing, so I'm just defending myself, right? But the problem is, at least for me, is to say, well, he doesn't have evidence. He doesn't have any fucking evidence. His own Justice Department tells him that they don't have any fucking evidence of this. The state legislatures themselves tell him they don't have any fucking evidence of this. He's just pulling this out of fucking thin air. This is wishful thinking at this point.
Yeah.
He's listening to Sidney Powell, who's an idiot, an insane person, and Rudy Giuliani doesn't know shit. And so it's like he's just like.
Well, he had the other attorney that was like some sort of scholar, some sort of university scholar. So.
Who?
He had another attorney that was a constitutional scholar at some university or something.
Oh, no. Yeah, but that was about whether it was constitutionally legal to do the action. I'm not even, like, whether it's constitutionally acceptable to do the action or not. In people's mind, that's not really what's important. What's important in people's mind is the action justified?
Yeah, no.
And I'm saying that there's no like the justification was so incredibly flimsy for the fraud claims. Like if all state legislatures said, oh, we have all this evidence that's fake. If his Justice Department came out and said they had all this evidence that was fake, like, I don't know, it'd be he'd have a much stronger position to kind of say like, oh, look, the Democrats rigged it. But like everyone said it was bullshit, except for him and Sidney Powell and Rudy Giuliani. So.
Yeah.
And pundits that didn't have access to the information that people in government had access to. So and it's hard to be like, oh, like literally every single Republican around Trump and every Republican and the state legislators are all out to get Trump. I mean, that's when we get into like the conspiratorial thinking.
Don't say that. Oh no.
Well,
you're gonna conjure up Katie.
There you go. Yeah, Katie would come. So yeah, that was. But I agree with you. I don't think any of that stuff's going to have a negative effect Well, I don't think I think talking about January 6th will have a negative effect on him, but I don't think the Pence thing specifically. I don't think anyone cares about. It might hurt him in the January 6th, whatever the claim is against him for January 6th that the Congress is trying to do. They're trying to arrest him for, indict him for, whatever. That, I mean, that could help. That might end up hurting him because that could be used as evidence. So
much of the town hall is questions devoted to Trump, which are kind of personal questions. You know, your involvement in January 6th. You know,
right.
These legal actions that are being taken against you, right?
Mm-hmm.
We finally get into a talk about the economy. You know, the economy is the economy is shit. Inflation is at an all-time high.
Well, it's weird. The economy
What are you
really
going to do to fix it? Oh yeah, the economy is great. Yeah,
but inflation is still high.
Right.
And things are still expensive. There's a girl asked this question.
Right, the host. Oh no,
no,
you're right.
There's like a young girl in the audience, and his answer was, "I'm gonna drill, baby.
Drill
for oil,
baby, drill." Wasn't that
like,
Sarah Palin? Who was the drill baby drill?
That was Sarah Palin. Yeah.
I did not like that answer.
Well, you don't like that answer because you like economic things. I don't like that answer because I know it's completely doesn't solve the issue. But will voters like that answer? Maybe. I mean, I don't think the average voter understands, economic issues very well. So they'll just say, "Oh yeah, Trump will drill for oil."
We are. I mean, right now, I believe the United States is a net exporter of oil. So
which is weird. He said it like we weren't anymore. So
yeah, I think we're a net exporter of oil and natural gas both.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. So, and how does that, I guess he just didn't think about the economy. He did mention interest rates, which I guess Trump is an MMT guy because he's saying raising the interest rates are causing the inflation.
So obviously the price of oil affects the price of everything else. So, in theory, the more oil that exists on the market, the price of everything should, in theory, drop down
get out of here.
a little bit, right?
Get out
to some amount. To some amount. Obviously, it's not like infinite. There's going to be some threshold of floor of what it's going to do, and obviously you have to contend with if America starts flooding the market with oil, OPEC is going to respond by cutting supply. So does it really make a difference? The fuck knows. And also, it takes years. Once you start drilling, it takes years for this stuff to get in progress. So obviously, it's not going to have an effect on the economy for a while. So yeah, I agree. It's not a good answer, but I think people will accept it as a fine answer.
Okay, so then we move on to abortion, and I've heard a lot of people talk about this abortion situation for.
Oh wait, you skipped one thing. That was funny.
I did.
Yeah. What? So. Because right now they're having the debate about the debt ceiling.
Oh yeah.
And she asked them this question. I fucking hate this answer, but I'm sure all the Trump people will love it so much because they love the fact that Trump is
you're right. Oh, I know. Exactly.
As a hypocrite, and he's an unabashed hypocrite, and they love it, which to me I'll never understand. But okay. So she asked him. She said, "When you were president, you said that we shouldn't be using the debt ceiling as a negotiating tool. And now you're saying we should." And his response was, "Well, no." She said, "So why are you saying that now?"
Changed? Yeah, what changed?
What changed? And he said, "Well, I'm not president now." And everyone goes, "Oh yeah, based." And I was like, "Oh my god, that's so awful."
Sitch and I both audibly sighed when this
I was like, "Oh my god."
Yeah.
So there you go.
It is kind of in your face. It is like, yeah, different rules for me. That's right, bitch.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, listen,
these are my rules.
I'm not gonna have any sort of moral consistency here. So, I can, maybe people will say well, it's refreshing because all politicians are liars, and he's at least honest about being a liar. And I'm like, I mean, maybe I don't know.
I mean, that is kind of refreshing. I'll give him that.
In some perverse way, I guess it is a little refreshing, but it's still pretty fucking terrible.
Okay, so then we move on to abortion.
Yeah. Then we have abortion. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So the moderator comes out and tries to pin Trump down on whether or not he would endorse a federal abortion ban, and to try to get him to, put a date on the calendar. The same thing that we're always talking about when we're arguing about abortion. And do you wanna sum up Trump's response to this?
Well, so she keeps asking him, would you support a federal abortion ban? And he keeps not answering the question. And he just keeps pivoting, saying, well, I think that getting rid of Roe v. Wade helped Republicans negotiate, whatever that means, negotiate on regarding the abortion question. And he just kept saying that repeatedly. He didn't want to say no, he wasn't going to support a federal abortion ban. Though he did say that he was against. He said he was in favor of rape and incest exceptions for abortion.
Right,
which is
like
interesting.
Ronald Reagan.
Right, like Ronald Reagan. That's right. He said like Ronald Reagan. So he is coming out softly against a lot of the states that don't have rape exceptions. But he did do a good thing, or a good tactical thing, because obviously I disagree with the ideology. But I think tactically he'll squeak by on this because he would just pivot to saying the Democrats want to, kill a baby the day before it's born. Democrats want to kill a baby 9 months in. He'll just keep pivoting to that, which is what he did in the conversation.
Yeah, it's funny that we had the abortion argument yesterday on the Tuesday live stream with Katie, and I was complaining about the fact that there were no reasonable positions on the table, and he did kind of separate it into, well, here's your options. It's the pro-life.
Unreasonable.
Well, no, he's saying here's the two options, and theirs is more unreasonable.
Right.
And therefore you should pick our option because it's the less unreasonable option.
Yeah, but he's still saying no abortion except for rape and life of the mother.
Yeah.
And incest. Or the Democrats abort the baby until the day before it's born. So he's still presenting the two unreasonable options, and he wasn't willing to, and this is smart. I don't think he should, but he wasn't willing to say he wasn't going to sign a federal abortion ban. Now, I don't think, unless the Republican Party is the dumbest motherfuckers on the planet, which is possible, they will not try to pass a federal abortion ban. This would be disastrous for the Republican Party for two reasons. One, it would completely, first of all, I guess most people don't care, but I care. It would make all the Republicans liars, because for 50 years they've been saying states' rights, states' rights, states' rights. And it's like, oh, the second you have the power to, you take states' rights that you've been complaining about and you throw in the trash can, you're fucking liars. Everything you say is a lie at this point, right?
Totally.
You lose all credibility from that level. But then you brought up a good point, which is probably a better point, because most people don't give a shit about consistency, which is just that if they did that, if the Republicans passed the federal abortion bill, this would cause so many people that don't vote to come out and vote against them in the next election.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know that they can pass it. So Trump did keep saying, positive things are happening. And that was really frustrating me, because I'm like, what? What's a positive thing that's happening?
Regarding abortion laws, yeah.
It seemed like a mess. And he pitched it as, we're still in the middle of a negotiation on abortion, and he wants to hear what everyone has to say, and he's going to basically be the picker of however this abortion thing turns out, which was super frustrating, because I obviously I feel like he's doing this to say one thing to the pro-life advocates who want all abortion banned. Everyone can believe what they want to believe in this kind of scenario, which is not good for people who just want to know what the outcome is. He did say one thing that I thought kind of tipped his hand a little bit. He mentioned Lindsey Graham, and he said Lindsey Graham has an idea that I find very interesting, or something to that effect, which I could hear Joe in my head just bristling at that Lindsey Graham thing. So I wondered if that tipped the scale against him.
Yeah, I don't know.
Mentioning Lindsey Graham.
He shouldn't. Yeah, he should not have brought up Lindsey Graham. Because here would be my thinking. If I'm Donald Trump, or if I'm a Republican, you're gonna want to be coy about the federal abortion ban, because there's gonna be all the people on the right that they're gonna want it.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit about the inconsistency of the position or anything.
They're not going to show up on election day if you
say no.
Right, yeah.
Right. Or I mean, some of them will still show up, but it's like free money. There's no reason to put those people off, right?
Yeah.
But those people will show up if you don't answer it. They'll still show up for you.
Right.
So
Because they think you're doing a wink and a nod at them.
right. And a lot of people won't believe that the Republicans will do it until they do it. So I do think from a strategic position, it is the best thing what Trump did and what I think Republicans will do, which is they'll kind of never really answer the question about a federal abortion ban, but then they actually won't pass it. They won't attempt to try to pass one. That would be my guess.
Really?
If they're being smart.
Is this like we're going to repeal and replace Obamacare, and they did it like 150 times when they had a president that was going to veto it every time, but as soon as they could actually do it, they just stopped.
Yeah, basically. I mean, they did repeal parts of it, but they never ended up replacing it with anything.
Right.
So yeah, no, I think that's exactly what it is. Well, not exactly, because except for Lindsey Graham pushing the federal abortion bill, it's not like they're constantly trying to push the federal abortion bill thing,
This is a weird thing politically, because I do think for the past 20, 30 years, they've been using abortion as a wedge issue to drive people to the polls.
Yeah.
And kind of liking the fact that, we would do this if we could, but no, everyone knew it was a stalemate. Now the stalemate is no longer there. So
yeah, but the thing is, they never. I mean, I'm in my lifetime recently, when I've been aware of politics in the last like 20 years or so, whenever I'd hear Republicans talk about abortion, it was always states' rights. I don't remember them ever really strong. I mean, I'm sure there were some.
Well, that's
there's always states' rights. It was never like this federal.
I never bought any of that.
Well, I'm but still, I don't know. I'm just saying, there's never it didn't seem like there was ever a huge federal push to have a federal abortion ban, which will end up. I mean, I don't personally care, but I think it'll end up biting them in the ass very strongly.
I think they want. I think there are a lot. The pro-life movement, I think, wants a federal abortion ban.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, of course, obviously, right.
Yeah,
but
so
I don't think they'll do it.
So then, now remember, we opened with election fraud. Like Trump says, rigged election like 5 minutes into this thing.
Yes.
Which is kind of funny. So after the abortion, there's a side fight between the host and Trump on the rigged election again. Where Trump starts talking about the rigged election and she's like trying to fact check him. I know clips are probably going to come out of that because it's totally hilarious. It just seemed like a slap fight in the middle of the thing.
Well, then they had another slap fight right after that, which was Trump said Trump said he built the wall.
Yes.
And then she said, no, you didn't. He said, I built the wall. Now he said we were going to build another wall. We didn't get around to building that wall, but I did build the wall. So it's like, oh, okay.
Yes. So they fought over the wall a bit, which I mean, I don't necessarily know. That I guess that was kind of the side quest on immigration. Someone asked a question about immigration. And what was your take on the immigration exchange?
I don't even remember what the question was or what his answer was. It seemed like it wasn't very important, but
the immigration stuff seemed more digs at the Biden administration than anything. So
yeah, you just talking about how they're going to let he's praising himself for putting the COVID restriction in place, and now it's going to lapse and it's going to cause all those problems. I mean, it's good for him. I think Trump handled that part very well, performance-wise. So.
Right. And then the last thing that they ended on was the Ukraine stuff. Where
that was the last thing. But
did I miss it? Part, yeah. Did I miss anything? What was the last thing?
There's all the document stuff afterwards.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, documents.
But yeah, the next part was the Ukraine stuff.
So Ukraine comes up, and the host is trying to get Trump to make some declaration on calling Putin a war criminal and declaring who he wants to win the Russian-Ukraine
and
war.
Whether he would give Ukraine more weapons.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have a take on
yeah, I thought Trump actually did very well in this section. Because she kept saying she kept asking, "Are you going to give them weapons? Are you going to give them weapons?" And he kept saying he didn't want to answer that question for obvious reasons, but he kept
Which is
saying,
smart. I mean,
which
I
is
agree
smart,
with him on
yes,
that. Yeah.
right, which is smart. No, I think he handled this. I think this was the section he handled the best because he didn't answer the question. Though actually, I thought he was overselling it a little too much because he kept saying, "When I'm president, I'm gonna end the war in 24 hours. Just you watch. 24 hours, the war will be over." Yeah, it was a little extreme. But then and then she kept asking him, which side do you want to win? And he would say like, "Well, I don't look at it in those terms. I just want people to stop dying," which I thought was a good answer. And then I think the host very, very stupidly, and I think this was her worst question. She said, "Will you call Vladimir Putin a war criminal?" And Trump actually had a very good answer to this, the best answer he had to any question the entire night, which was he essentially said, like he said, "I'm not going to call Putin a war criminal because if I call him a war criminal, then he'll have no incentive to end the war because then he'll know that he'll be like
Yeah.
arrested after the war's over."
Yeah.
So I was like, "Well, that's a fucking good answer, I guess." I mean, shit. And the host was too stupid to understand that. She was just like, "Yeah, but don't you think it's important to call it what it is?" I was like, "Oh my God." So
I do find that exchange really exemplifies the progressive conservative divide there. Just
yeah, yeah.
in a
Well,
realistic understanding of the world.
oh, I see what you're saying. I
Yeah.
say, I mean, her action shows the progressive divide of like, you need to call it what it is. What his answer to me wasn't a conservative answer. It was like the pragmatic businessman answer.
Right.
He's just like, well, that's stupid. I'm not going to do this because that would, hurt my bargaining position essentially to get the war to end, which is a pretty good and straightforward answer. I mean, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. I like that one. I'm impressed with that answer.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, I thought he did very well in that exchange, obviously. And he
Hmm.
kept focusing on, I just want people to stop dying. She kept pressing him and pressing him on, who's going to win? Who's going to win in this? And he did. I know the anti-war people on the right will like the exchange because he did focus on putting the conflict to an end and and
Yes. And
and
not supporting it more.
right. And
Though he did
and
say the whole we need to make Europe pay for it more sort of
right.
thing. So,
Well, they're probably happy about that as well. So,
yes, right, right.
so did I? So there's the documents. Did I miss anything else? Like, oh,
Oh,
I
there
have.
was there was the doc. Well, okay, so I have two more notes. There was
Okay.
she asked him, "Did you share the documents?" And he said, "Not really."
Oh, not really.
She was like, "What do you mean, not really?" And then he said, "Well, I don't think so." No, she said, "Did you show anyone the documents?" He was like, "Not really." I just thought it was so funny. What do you mean, not really? So, not a great answer, but
Totally.
yeah. And then the last thing, the only thing, the other note that I had, this might actually hurt him, was it might hurt him in his January 6th indictment, or not his
Hmm.
January, his Georgia indictment. He gave a horrible fucking answer because she asked him a question about the phone call in Georgia. And instead of him just saying it was a perfect phone call, Trump said that he called when he was talking to the governor of Georgia, he said the governor of Georgia owed me votes because the election was rigged.
Right.
He said he owed me votes. I was like, oh, that's not a good thing to say. Maybe he owes you votes. That
Well,
sounds really bad.
votes that he earned. I mean, it didn't
Yeah,
seem
but
that
that's in the
bad to me.
context of like the phone call
As
to say that
someone
he owes it to him. That's really bad. He should have said that.
as someone who has listened to the phone call, I
Yeah.
felt she was like she's obviously bought into the narrative that Trump was doing a wink and a nod and
Right.
trying to pressure him into manufacturing votes for him.
Right.
Which, as someone who's listened to the entire phone call, I don't think that's what was happening at all. Obviously, he
Hmm.
felt that they took some of his votes and let them slip behind a dresser or something like that, and he wanted them to find the
Right.
votes that he
Right.
earned fair and square,
Yeah.
and that was the situation.
Right.
So, th-
Well,
go ahead.
well, to say, I think Trump was very careful in the phone call that it's not the people that say it's like, slam dunk against Trump, I think they're in TDS land. I think the phone call is vague enough that he has a lot of cover, just like you're saying, is a lot of cover to just be saying, oh, I was just telling him to find votes that already exist, not that I was telling him to manufacture votes.
Right. And that's the
So,
distinction that's going to come
yeah,
down.
right.
That was an interesting exchange because I think he said perfect call like 3 or 4 times. It went past, like, I think she was talking and he was still saying perfect call.
Perfect call. Perfect call.
Which was great. Performance wise, I think he completely knocked it out of the park, to be honest with you.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did very well performance wise. This really helped him. I think the town hall will ultimately help him. I think this town hall will revitalize a lot of people's confidence in him that maybe was waning. I think he had a really, really strong performance. I think this will hurt DeSantis and everyone else. And if he can keep his energy up, the way it was tonight, going forward, I think he'll, definitely win the primary.
All right. Do you want to say anything else? I was going to invite my friend Adam Post on, who also watched and is more of a MAGA supporter than you or I, to kind of give his feedback. Because I am curious what someone who is like a dyed-in-the-wool Trump supporter thinks. You want to read some super chats and I'll send him the link?
Yeah, sure. Thanks so much, JMac, our surrogate father, for the 50 gifted memberships. Thank you. Nerd of Doom for 3 months says, I'm going to pull it out. Trill, baby, Trill. Trump, yes. Calvin Pafford for $10 says, get this orange Xeno out of my state. Ah! There you go. Calvin, not a fan of the orange Xeno.
Oh,
Tamungo, thank you so much.
Against Trump?
Yes.
Interesting.
Tamungo, thank you so much for joining the Free Will Seekers. Thos Apprentice for 3 months says, it seems Adam is accurate about it being fairness/cheating. The host alone proves that. Also, Sitch, debate me on Hunter x Hunter versus JoJo. S class is JoJo class. I'm not going to debate you on that, Thoth. Okay. You're just wrong. You're just factually wrong. Hunter x Hunter is like light years ahead of JoJo forever. Not even a question. Not even a question. Okay. J-Mac for $20. Thank you, Jay. Says, I don't know, Sitch. Did you see the results of the girl Trump versus man Hillary debate?
Trump versus man Hillary debates?
Now, that would be an interesting alternate universe to live in, right? The Rule 63 universe where Trump is a girl and Hillary was a man. I wonder how those debates would have played out.
I'm not
It's kind of hard to imagine like Trump, like the Trump personality in a woman. Right?
I mean, Scott Adams constantly calls AOC the female Trump.
Well, but I don't think she's not she means in terms of like persuasion ability, not in terms of like they don't have
personality type.
Yeah.
You can't see AOC, assaulting a woman or a man in a changing room.
I can't see AOC saying, when you're famous, you can grab men by the balls.
and they just let you do it.
They let you do it, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You can grab a man by the cock. They let you do it. Libertarian Sasquatch for $5 says, I've been pretty down on Trump, but the host just made him look so great tonight. Andy had a little bit of the Donnie magic going.
Yeah, he did. Entertainment wise, I just who can compete? Can you imagine Mike Pence in this?
It'd be boring.
It's so weird too because it's all the baggage that he has accumulated that is what makes it interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you're like, how's he gonna wiggle out of this one?
Right. Exactly.
It's like a sitcom drama. You're like, well, is Trump gonna get out of this situation, boys?
Well, and the stakes are just
very high.
The stakes for nobody for no other candidate are as high as they are for Trump. Obviously.
Right.
Obviously. Right. He's either going to go from being, it's going to be the biggest win ever, or the biggest embarrassment ever. My God, a one-term president.
I mean, if he loses to Biden a second time, holy shit.
I know. I know.
Oh man.
Oh my goodness.
I do think, though, I think Trump's polarization actually hurts him because, like, like if Trump wasn't so polarizing and all the January 6th stuff didn't happen, like even like okay, if we just removed January 6th stuff from happening, like what if he just said he thought that he won and that the vote was rigged, and then he just like let it go, and so like January 6th and all that stuff happened, I think he'd be in a fantastic position to beat Biden in the election because you're gonna have the debates where Trump, if Trump has this energy during the debates against Biden, he's gonna look so much better than Biden.
Right.
I think he's gonna crush him in the debates.
Right.
But I think that doesn't matter because so many people hate him so much that you could have literally Trump arguing against a cardboard cutout of Hunter Biden on stage and people would still vote. I think he would still maybe possibly lose the election just because people were so anti-Trump at this point.
Yeah, I heard people talking about this before the town hall began about how they're going for independence, that there are three types of people. There are people who hate Trump, there are people who love Trump, and there are people who, could possibly vote for Trump again, and they're really trying to bolster those numbers in the middle. Yeah, I don't it's such a tough call.
Yeah.
I would not want to. It's funny that people are so, set. They know exactly how this is going to turn out.
No, that's stupid. Yeah.
I even
I mean,
felt
he could, yeah, it's anyone's game, but if it wasn't for January 6th stuff, I think he would have it like in the bag, would be my guess. If it
Yeah.
wasn't for the January 6th stuff. Now I think it's kind of I think the January 6th stuff made it so is what's going to make it so close.
Is the January 6th stuff going to continue to come up and
Of course, that will come up until the day before election. That will be one of the main things they hit him with every day of the election cycle.
right? And it's just going to be, why did you fuck up so bad?
Well, yeah, it's gonna be, why did you do this? Why are you trying to destroy the country? You're a threat to the country, blah 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 blah. It'll be the whole thing. So
We did miss the last exchange. I do remember what it was now. She brought it back to the rigged election thing a third time.
I see it. Yeah, they're gonna bring it back every time.
Yeah. Well, in the end, she was saying, I have to ask you, if you lose in 2024, will you accept that you've lost the election?
Right.
And he said, if the election's not rigged, of course I will. I would love to.
Yeah, of course, of course.
What do you
Good
think the
answer.
chances of the election not being rigged if Trump loses in 2024?
Zero.
0?
Zero, yeah.
There's
Not
absolutely
even
no
1%.
chance of
Just
it.
Zero chance, yeah.
I was looking for these Trump numbers. They had a poll on CNN that showed the various numbers, but I can't find it now. Here, I'll look for it.
Okay. Oh, on the wrong tab. Calvin Paffer for $5 says, I was going to vote for Trump until he made all the mass holes and xenos flock here. New Hampshire is 90% trees. We can't handle this goddamn traffic. I'm so pissed. There you go. So you don't all the extended traffic tonight is why you've decided not to decided why you decided not to vote for Trump. And Calvin Paffer for another $5 says, war with the Rust Belt, war with Quebec. I can't handle these Xenos anymore. There you go. All the aliens.
Damn.
Stud for $2 says, joke's on you, Sitch. The Republicans are pretty dumb. There you go. Drew Dogman says,
we have no pro-Trump supporters in our audience tonight?
oh, we do. Daniel Irish for $5 says, just got here. Trump 2024. Make Adam's wallet full again. Woo. So there you go. Drew Dogman for $2 says, the right to life is in the federal constitution. Okay. I don't know what that has to do with anything that I was talking about. Ostracy for $5 says, I continue to hate how you guys frame abortion. I'm starting to feel like you don't know if you don't want to know how people actually think about it. Well, what did we say specifically, Ostracy, about it that you didn't? I mean, I don't know how you could disagree with the fact that Republicans have been talking about it being a states' rights issue for the last, 30, 40 years. That's just a fact. So I'm not sure what you're referring to there. I'm sure there would still be. Are you contending with the idea that I'm assuming, and I could be wrong, I'm assuming that the very strong pro-life supporters don't care about the states' rights issue. It's a states' rights issue, and we're just using that as a tool and would still support a federal abortion ban. But I don't think the Republicans are stupid enough to do that. I think it would hurt them too much politically if they did that. So
Yeah. So somebody left a comment on our last video about secular arguments for
mm-hmm. Of course, there
abortion.
are secular arguments for abortion.
Well, I asked them
I'm sorry,
what
for
theirs
pro-life.
were,
Yeah.
but they didn't seem like very good arguments to me. So
There are secular arguments for pro-life positions, but it's and we might have a disproportionate number of people in our audience who are in favor of that, and that's fine. But it's undeniable. It's undeniable that the majority of energy in the pro-life movement is religious energy. So
right. Well, I don't know if Adam Post is going to be around.
oh, okay. Read the DM I sent you. I tried to fit in the super chat, but it was just too difficult. I keep saying you're softening Democrats' position on abortion because, from my position, you act like the abort at any time for any reason is some fringe small position very people have. But I see polls like this, and you link the poll. It's doubly frustrating because you classify the Republicans as some pro-life party when only 22% are. What do you mean? That's literally what Actually, that's literally what I always say. I don't understand. I always say that the majority of abortions with restrictions. I don't think the majority of Republicans are in favor of the no abortions allowed. That's why I read the poll where I said only. Remember when I read the poll when I said only, what was it? Like it was only 8% of Americans were in favor of no restrictions. I'm sorry, only 8% of Americans were in favor of no abortions being allowed. Something like the overwhelming majority were in favor of abortions with some timetable restriction, and then it was something like 18% were in favor of abortions with no restrictions whatsoever. So I'm aware that the majority of Republicans are in favor of allowing abortions with
Exceptions in the
restrictions.
case
Yeah.
of rape and incest.
Right.
But they want to ban abortion except in cases of rape and incest.
Right.
Right.
So I don't know what part of the pro-life or the Republican position about it. I'm not sure what you're intending with. You said that 57% of Democrats are in favor of restrictionless abortions, which I mean that conflicts with the other poll that I saw. I'll have to see what you're citing here because that seems pretty crazy. But anyway, where was I? JMac for $20 says, but they did that. Male Hillary still lost in likability. Yeah, but it would be hard to. Sure, I don't think Hillary would have necessarily won. I'm just saying it would be funny to think of. It'd be funny. Someone will do it once we have like better deep faking stuff. I don't know. Maybe someone will make female Trump, so we can kind of visualize it. I'm curious. If a female Trump, like literally the same personality as Trump, but just a woman, if we would like that person the same way we will like male Trump, or if it'll just come off so differently. That's what I'm curious about. How much the sex plays into the psychology of the character.
I don't know. Hard to say.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else to talk about, or maybe we should just sign off? I don't know.
Okay. Adam Post isn't coming.
Well, I texted him and I sent him a
No,
link.
okay.
So
Don't worry about it.
he did message me and said,
Right.
but he messaged me like an hour ago. If you want me to jump in, if you want me to jump on, just let me know I'm around, he
No, don't
says.
worry about it. It's fine. We don't have to be a whole big whole long thing. This was a freebie stream anyway.
Of course. Of course. It's good to get your take. So how's my money looking?
Pretty good, unfortunately.
You still think
Pretty
Trump is
good.
not running for president?
No, I said I think you're looking pretty good here.
Trump leads DeSantis in our new 2024 Republican primary poll averaging
Right.
on 538. Is 538 still a thing, or have they lost their credibility? I don't know.
Didn't they fire what's his face?
He's no longer around.
Am I hallucinating that?
I thought so. I thought that was the case too, but
Nate Silver?
yeah. He
Yeah, I
said,
don't know. I don't know what the deal is with 538, but no, I think unfortunately I'm gonna have to pay you that money.
is DeSantis is
Yeah, Nate Silver was
DeSantis
fired in April.
is DeSantis going to get into the race?
I feel like he has to.
He's
He will. He will still try.
Is he going to be the Jeb Bush of the race, the one that everyone thinks is like the anointed one? And
No. No. Trump is definitely the anointed one.
I don't know. I feel like people feel like DeSantis can. I do feel like people who like DeSantis think DeSantis has got this in the bag.
Well, those people are coping. I don't know what to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, if DeSantis had a personality, then maybe. But as I said from day one, he has the person. I said this before anyone else said this. I was like the first fucking political commentator to say this. I said DeSantis has the charisma of wet cardboard.
You did. You did.
I don't know. Like, you might like him. You might like his policies, but he's not a good speaker.
I think I was looking at his policies and painting sort of a halo around him because I like the policies.
That's what everyone was doing.
Yeah.
You don't understand.
And you actually shook that away to the point where I was like, okay, if I look at this guy objectively, I think, nah, he's not really as entertaining as Trump.
Right. Well, like, okay, here's a good thought experiment for you to kind of see this if you're still not saying it. I know you are, but it's like anyone in the audience. So in the town hall, part of Trump's like charisma ability is that he has this like really aggressive host who's like badgering him, and he's able to kind of like call her nasty and kind of tell her to shut up, but he does it in this way that it's like he doesn't come across as angry. Like he does it in this tone of voice where he doesn't seem like he's angry. Like he's not getting angry at her. He's just like, dismissive almost, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm so much better than you, right? That's where I think a lot of his charisma and speaking is that he has that I'm just better than you, but in like kind of a funny way, like in a funny dismissive way.
Right.
And that's where a lot of his power comes from. Now put DeSantis in this position with the town hall, okay? This person's badgering him. DeSantis doesn't have that. He's just going to get angry. Like, excuse me. Like, seen him at the press conference. Like, you're lying. Lady, you're lying. Excuse me. No, stop, okay? I'm going to speak, and you're not going to interrupt me. Like, he has a completely different energy that's nowhere near as appealing as Trump's energy.
You're right. Yeah, we've seen some of those exchanges, and they don't make him look good. They make him look worse.
Yes.
And that's totally undefinable. What is that secret sauce that makes Trump able to do that? Able to say, you're a very mean person.
Because he doesn't
it?
Nasty.
Nasty. That's
like
right.
You're a nasty woman, yeah. Because he does. I really think it's because he's able to sort of say this stuff in like this weird, everything kind of feels humorous way. He doesn't sound really that angry. He just sounds kind of like mocking. He always just sounds like he's mocking, which makes you sound like if you're listening to this, it makes it sound like he's always in control of his emotions because he's never like really like losing his temper necessarily. Now we've obviously seen him lose his temper, but I'm saying in this town hall, he did a good job not losing his temper or anything. So no, he did. So that's where I think his problem is. JMac for $10 says, no, they literally did that. Look it up. Oh, they literally did it. I thought you meant they just asked people. Let me see. What if Donald Trump
There's a
and
Saturday
Hillary...
Night Live, Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton town hall debate, Saturday Night Live.
No, it's let's see.
Epic
After
rap
watching the
battle.
second televised debate between Trump and Hillary, Maria Guadalupe, an associate professor of economics and political science at INSEAD, had an idea. Millions had tuned to watch a man face off against a woman for the first set of co-ed presidential debates in history. But how would their perceptions change? She wondered if the genders of the candidates were switched. She pictured an actress playing Trump, replicating his words, gestures, body language, and tone verbatim, while an actor took on Clinton's role in the same way. What would the experiment reveal about the male and female communication style? Oh, okay, so they hired basically actors to kind of like do it.
Is this
do it
online? Can we watch this? I mean, we don't have to watch it now, obviously, but that's interesting.
There's a clip of it online, but the audio's terrible.
Oh.
It's like all echoey
From
and
6 years
shitty.
ago?
Well, no, it's like I don't know why. They're not mic'd. They're just like in a room and the audio is from like across the room, so it's just super echoey.
Oh.
But anyway, so let's get to this. So let's see. The two sold out performances of her opponent took place on the night of Saturday, January 28th. Let's see. Oh, they didn't do the whole thing. They just did excerpts from the thing. Let's see. They rehearsed it, blah, blah, blah. Based on the conversations after the performance, it sounded like the audience members had their beliefs rattled in a similar way. What were some themes that emerged from their responses? We heard a lot of, quote, now I understand how this happened, meaning how Trump won the election. Well, that's interesting. Wait, that's very fascinating. People got upset. There was a guy 2 rows in front of me who was literally holding his head in his hands, and the person with him was rubbing his back.
What?
This is amazing. The simplicity of Trump's message became easier for people to hear when it was coming from a woman. That was the theme. One person said, I'm just so struck by how precise Trump's technique is. Another, a musical theater composer, actually said that Trump created a hummable lyrics while Clinton talked a lot and everything she said was true and factual, but there was no hook to it. Another theme was not liking either candidate. I wouldn't vote for either of them, said some guy. But male Hillary Clinton was really punchable because of all the smiling. And a lot of people were just very surprised by the way it upended their expectations about what they thought they would feel or experience. There was someone who described the female Donald Trump as his Jewish aunt who would take care of him, even though he might not like his aunt. Someone else described her as the middle school principal who you don't like, but you know is doing good things for you.
Wow.
Isn't that so fascinating?
All that was just from Trump's dialogue, basically. Did they try to match the intonation and stuff?
They were doing his mannerisms.
Okay.
They're trying to do like impressions of the people. Obviously.
Interesting.
So, but to me, that's so interesting because I never would have even thought there'd be all these people on the left who I guess they have bias in the other direction, right? The more pro-woman bias. So they couldn't see, like, because they have all these preconceptions in their minds about like men and sexism and all this stuff, like when they look at Trump, they just see all that. But when they would literally take his personality and his words and then like put on a woman, they immediately understand the appeal of Donald Trump.
Right.
That's so fascinating. That's amazing to me.
And how Hillary Clinton is unappealing at the same time. Yeah.
Yes.
Where she's completely stepping in it. Everyone will always talk about how Trump talks at a 3rd grade level as if that's a put down. And I'm thinking, I mean, he's running for president. I mean, don't you want to be able to talk to the widest swath of people?
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Simplifying things is important. Very important.
Mm-hmm. That's so interesting. Yeah. So there you go. No, thanks, Jay. That's a very interesting study. I'll see if I can find the whole video because that would be kind of interesting to watch.
So we'll keep doing these as election time comes around.
What was the one that we got in trouble for? Was it a debate or town hall or something?
That we got slapped for?
Yeah. You got hit once, and then
remember. Because David Pakman was complaining about it too, that he got hit, but like we got out of it immediately. I just emailed the guy and said, "Oh,
yeah,
sorry."
I know, right? But I don't know who it was. Was it CNN or something?
I don't want to lose our channel, so
Yeah, right.
But everyone else was streaming it, and I was like, oh, I mean,
if everyone's doing it,
you never really know.
Listen, if everyone's breaking the rules, then it's okay, right?
Well, they're not obviously not getting caught doing it, so.
Her
So we're
opponent,
good.
full archival version. Oh, awesome! Thank you. I'll see if. Oh, nice. Thank you. It's on YouTube. I'll check this out. Maybe we'll watch it on stream at some point.
Yeah. We'll copy that.
That is very interesting. That is very, very interesting. Thank you, Lord Cameron. Stug for $2 says, no, sis, there was a mock debate with male Donald and female Hillary. Thank you. Shit, I meant female Don and male Hillary. Yes, thank you, Stug.
4 years ago. Look at that.
Yep. Eric Doit for 10 Canadian says, love the show, guys. Have you seen Peter Zahan's video on who wins the 2024 election? No.
I have. Yeah, I watch all of Peter
Who does he
Zahan's
say?
video. I think he said Biden. Yeah. Biden has got it in the bag.
In the bag?
Yeah.
I don't
It's
know
a
if I
short
agree with
video.
that.
You should check it out. Yeah.
It was 12 minutes. So yeah. Okay. I mean, I think Biden could win, but I don't think it's in the bag. I think that's
Well, I noticed. I was like, look. I was like, look. You at the time I watched that video weren't even convinced. I mean, you seemed very convinced that Biden wasn't even going to run. That Biden is out of the race and not even thinking about it.
Well, not when this video. I've never seen this video before. So.
Right. Do you still think that?
No, Biden's obviously running now.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in the race. He's going to run. Of course he is.
Obviously, yeah, but it's a stupid decision. So
he would have to be dead not to run.
I guess.
All of them want to be two-term presidents. None of them want to none of them want to be marked down in the history books as one-term presidents. That's the thing that terrifies them the most.
Mm-hmm.
That's why that's what made me know Trump was going to run. He's like, shit, it's all or nothing.
Okay, Dan, sorry.
Mystery guest is back. Thank you, mystery guest.
Oh, thank you, mystery guest. Mystery guest 01, our surrogate uncle for $200. Thank you, mystery guest. That's incredibly generous.
Yeah.
Thank you. Dan Irish sent me 2 polls for abortion positions for Democrats. So the first one was the one Ashley sent me. It was Gallup. I saw a different one, but okay. This is one that says it's very interesting. It says currently, according to Gallup, 57% of Democrats that responded were in favor of abortion under any circumstance, and 38% were in favor of it only under certain circumstances, which is very surprising.
Oh, Adam Post showed up.
Hey,
hey, what's
can
up?
you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right, sorry guys. I haven't actually done this with a Zoom before, so I was a little baffled. And anyway,
problem.
tech stuff, you know how that goes.
Yes, of course.
What's up, Adam?
Oh my God, did you see that Trump town hall?
Yes.
Yeah, we were just talking. We just did a summary of it, but I know that you're more. Will you be voting for Trump in 2024? Maybe that's
I
the way to
voted for
ask
him
it.
already. Yeah, you have to.
What
You already voted for him?
Yes. 2020, 2016.
Oh, I thought you meant you already voted for the 2024.
Well, sort of. Yeah, no, I'm pretty committed. I mean, it was great to see him on CNN absolutely destroy them.
Yes. Yeah. He did very well in that performance. Yeah.
CNN puts together the audience as well, and they approve those questions. And why should he back down?
Yeah. I mean, people appreciate the bluntness of like, well, if you want him to negotiate for peace, can't call him a war criminal. It's very
But that's
simple.
the funny thing, Sitch. I don't know if we've ever been on before, but great to meet you.
Yeah, I think so.
Anybody who's nice to Adam, it's on my good list.
He's mean to me quite often, so
It's
I don't
true.
know.
Not mean enough.
Keep
Not
him-
mean enough. Why do you keep looking younger, friended? Stop doing that. Stop doing that. Be like me. Get old already.
Yesterday, someone thought he was 32.
Yeah, he can pass.
Let's not tell anyone my real age, Adam. You're good at keeping. You're good at keeping my secret for me.
He's
so.
106. People, you can tell this guy's he's young, he's healthy. It's amazing.
So what's
But you do look younger than the last time I saw you. But it's just that I look older. So it could be
He's got Benjamin
rating on
Button
a scale.
disease. Yeah, that's the
So
problem.
What did you guys think? I mean, you thought like it went. Did you notice, by the way, that if you look at CNN's plan for the show, it was supposed to last an hour and a half,
Mm-hmm.
and they had to stop it after an hour and 10 minutes because there was just like there was too much damage.
Really?
I didn't know.
Oh yeah,
They bailed out early. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, in fact, I tweeted you about that. Direct message. But yeah, I was like, well, how long is this thing going to run? 60 minutes, or maybe normally a town hall should go an hour and a half to 2 hours, and on CNN's schedule, according to my DVR, it says 9 to 9:30, and by like 10 minutes after 9, she's like, well, thanks for coming. That's all the time we had for questions. It's like, meantime, obviously there's a million things to try to talk to him about, but all of it was just trying to nail him on stuff immediately.
Yeah. What was your take on the host Trump dynamic?
Well, it felt Megyn Kelly-ish. Although, Megyn Kelly is now essentially like pro-Tucker, pro-Trump. But I don't know if you guys agree, but it did
I do remember
like
the Megyn Kelly interaction where
oh, it was amazing.
didn't he accuse her of being on her period? That was Megyn Kelly, right?
Sort of, maybe.
He's talking about, yeah. Well, he was saying how, this way you're treating you like you got blood coming out of your eyes or coming out of wherever.
Yes,
somewhere.
I remember that.
He has his way. But no, what she did to him was she hit him immediately. He was number one in the polls. It was the first Republican debate on Fox. And, Megyn Kelly is a former lawyer. A lot of the Fox people are attorneys. Even the ones that seem dopey, like Pete Hegseth, he's like a former hedge fund guy. So, these are, except maybe for that Lawrence Jones guys, I don't know what his background is, but all these people seem to have these professional, like hardcore careers. But anyway, so Megyn Kelly said to Trump in the first debate, the Republican nominations, you have called women dogs, pigs, and said that women were terrible in your tweets. And then he interrupted. He goes, only Rosie O'Donnell. And the entire place, just like tonight, they inappropriately erupted in laughter because it's funny.
Yep.
And then she tried to talk over them and say, no, it wasn't just Rosie O'Donnell. And then when she's like, well, so, do you think that's appropriate? And he said, well, look, I think a big problem with the country today is that everyone's trying to be politically correct. And again, the whole crowd went nuts for him.
Mm-hmm.
You can't, it's very hard. In this country now, we have two parties. We have not the GOP and the DNC. We have the GOP and nationalists, people who just love America and love the country. So we have the GOP and the DNC. They're part of establishment.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got a chunk of people, some in government, but millions in America who are just like, can we just do things that benefit Americans actually? So how do you compete with that? It's difficult.
I don't agree with this. But okay.
Well, you don't have to agree. You can be wrong. Adam's wrong all the time, I'm sure. It's an Adam thing, maybe.
Well, I just think? One of the reasons why I wanted to invite you on, Adam, because I know that you follow Trump and have a really different perspective than either of us do. So, and I, like, you even knew that the town hall was supposed to go another. I didn't realize that they had quit 15 minutes early because.
Yeah.
So what do you think happened there? You think the CNN network was doing some sort of damage control because
Trump... Yeah, man. I was starting to look at I was like, all right, I got some time. It was 7:30, like a half an hour before it started. I'm like, let me check out CNN. I bet they're doing some kind of before show.
Yeah.
So they were doing a before show, and I was going to screenshot it and get to it. But they had a banner immediately at the bottom saying, Trump to appear in the next few minutes, the day after his sexual assault charges.
Right.
Just completely, going after him every way they can. So it does have a feeling that, like, corporate said, because there's David Zaslav, who is in charge of the business of Warner Brothers Discovery and ultimately CNN, and his board member friend, financier, was a big part of the company, John Malone, big investor, who have said they want CNN to show both sides.
Mhm.
They want to go back to like how things used to be. I don't know if it was the 1990s or whenever it was, but when it wasn't all just political advocacy, one propaganda network against another propaganda network. So as Zaslav was saying about the event in the first place, if you're going to have primaries coming up and things like that, you can't disregard the guy who's far and away like doing very well in the GOP primary because he's probably going to get the nomination.
Yeah, that would look horrible if they completely ignore him and then he ends up getting the nomination.
I think they're going to have a big problem because I think it's very exciting what's going on with Tucker Carlson now on Twitter with his new show coming. He got 100 million views from the announcement of that show, from the announcement of the show.
On Twitter?
Yeah, that he just did yesterday. He made the announcement. And he's going to have his show on Twitter, something like Tucker Carlson Tonight, slightly different format. And he's just doing it as an independent creator, just like the rest of us. And he'll, monetize off whatever advertising he gets. But his net worth, I think, is a couple of $100 million already. So
he'll be okay.
What was that?
He'll be okay.
Yeah, he's not going to lose any money.
Yeah.
But what he doesn't want to be left out of the future of this country. He sees our country is in a lot of trouble. I mean, this inflation alone is enough to destroy us. But anyway, so people want to have a say. What else you got?
Well, I think with Trump and I mean I do think Trump did very well in this town hall. I think this will I think people that were kind of counting him out or were thinking, oh, he's too old, he's lost his energy, he's lost his touch. I think this will kind of like quell all that because he definitely seemed to be back to his old self energy wise, and he was totally on point with everything he was saying. I think it's a really good performance for him. But I think it's really more, and we were kind of talking about this, I think it kind of, because I was kind of saying like, what is the spark? What is the charismatic spark that he has that Ron DeSantis lacks? Because I think even if people like Ron DeSantis's policies better, Ron DeSantis, as I've always said, has the personality of wet cardboard. And if you were to envision him in this town hall, it'd be very easy to see Ron DeSantis kind of getting angry at the lady and kind of, just kind of being very aggressive in like a not kind of funny way. And I think that's where Trump excels, is that he's able to sort of have this demeanor of mocking dismissiveness sort of to people, as opposed to just shouting them down or getting like very aggressively angry at them. And I think that's where a lot of his charm comes from.
It's absolutely true. The charm is something that he's been working on and utilizing for, I mean, it's in the realm of decades. It's
Right.
a long time. At the end of the debate, he's always jockeying to have a dominant position, but he's always done that. Even when he was shaking hands with Putin, he met Putin. I saw a video of this just recently again, years ago. He grabbed he went to shake his hand, and Trump pulled him physically to him. Trump pulled his arm in.
Yeah.
It's always like inherently something that Trump does. At the end of the debate, he said to Kate Collins, "You did a good job." And something. The truth is, yeah, he is a president. He's been in a lot of interviews. He's been in a town hall. He does know she was in a tough position. He is the professional there. She came from Fox. Who is she? She's just some goofy kid. They didn't have Don Lemon, and I guess they didn't want to use Anderson Cooper. But who are you going to put up against Trump? They were so and after this show was ended, when CNN ended early, they had their panel out, and their panel for the next couple of hours was hysterical.
Yeah, what were they saying? I am curious as to what their take on all this was.
They were like, well, it's now ended, and just we can't fact check all of the lies that Trump told. I mean, they're going to get a call over that. Zaslav is going to call and say, listen, because some of it is just like, for example, if you feel like the election was stolen, Trump feels like the election was stolen. He cited a couple of reasons why. One of which, the recent word that came out about the 51 intelligence agencies that was coordinated by a former CIA director. He admitted doing it. He admitted doing it to help Biden. So, I mean, the CIA literally was involved in just that one letter trying to refute all the corruption stuff with Hunter and Joe Biden. But
well, you mentioned ballot stuffing.
Yeah, he also mentioned ballot stuffing was shady, and there's video of it. And
but the only video is from the movie, right? The 2000 Mules movie.
I wouldn't say only, because there were like what the deal with the video is. There's supposed to be video surveillance of like all of those mailboxes, all those drop-off boxes, like in multiple states, and some of them have by state law. So the idea was, look, this will be secure because we're going to have video. Well, a lot of them didn't have their cameras turned on. A lot of states refused to turn stuff over, but there were all sorts of lawsuits and cases where people got video. The largest collection of it was in 2000 Mules, run with data from what he was referring to, True the Vote, which is amazing. He got that website out because people will look that up and they'll see what their references are and what evidence they've uncovered. And they went and proved the ballot stuffing with getting the cell addresses of people's cell phones getting pinged near the locations.
In the 2000 Mules thing. But I've heard other people refute that because, there's no way that you can use that cell phone data in the way that they were using it in that 2000 Mules.
Well, the funny thing about that, Adam, is that's how they got people on January 6th. So, while the Justice Department would say...
but they brought in corroborating evidence with January 6th. They didn't bring in any corroborating evidence with the cell phone data. Like, there's no way that
what I'm saying is, like, when they would look at, if your cell phone was near January, where near the Capitol,
right,
they're looking for you.
Yes, they would look for you, though, and then they would pull out corroborating evidence, like there's pictures of you, we've got you on this camera, that camera.
Honestly,
they don't have that same situation with the cell phone data and the votes.
Well, they have
the
some
problem.
of the cell phone data. They have people on video that are holding up, because this is how they get paid, multiple ballots.
Right.
Showing that, like, hey, I'm putting my 10 ballots in, like when you're kind of not supposed to be doing that.
Do you... I mean, I saw the movie 2000 Mules. I didn't find it very convincing, but
I thought it was fine. I don't know. I don't know if I would have structured it that way.
Are you pro-life? I don't know if you're pro-life or just because I had a couple questions on the.
It depends, honestly. For today.
Well, that's a no.
I like the premise of it, but
for today.
Honest. Let's be straight. I mean, we're guys talking.
You sound like you sound like you've got what I would call a reasonable abortion position.
Yeah, I'm one of those, like, it's sort of like if you show me a picture of a baby in a womb and it's a certain amount of months, like you start feeling like, all right, maybe this is not like something you should be destroying.
Of course.
But at the same time, if you sleep with someone and it turns out that she's pregnant and she's like, I think I want to have this baby, and it's like 4 or 5 weeks in, and then you're like, well, are you going to convince her to not have that baby or to have that baby? I have a son. I like him.
That's good. That's good.
You know what I mean? And all that. I'll keep him and everything. But if I was to get involved with his mother again or something like, and things were to
right,
I would consider that a mistake. I think the most important thing, though, for us is to go and deal with the constitutionality of decisions that are being made. Right. So when they did get rid of Roe versus Wade, that was the right thing, because the Supreme Court and the federal government was never supposed to have that authority. It was stolen from the states. It just was not part of the Constitution. You can create a constitutional amendment if you want to, and people have. There are multiple constitutional amendments. It's a little inconvenient, but we all sacrifice things so that we can have a coherent system.
So what was your take on what he said about abortion?
Oh, what he said about, it was brilliant.
Okay.
Because what he said was, first of all, he took credit.
But you're not like a strong pro-lifer, though. So
no, I'm not. To me, we've always had Roe versus Wade, and I've not impregnated women that I wanted to get rid of their babies. I wasn't like slanted one way or the other at the time.
Right.
But no, for me, I think he's definitely gotten through. He just played it nicely, because He took credit for Roe versus Wade, which he has to because he's the one that appointed those justices. Obviously, Clinton never would have done that. And he said, as far as like, would you agree to a federal ban? I mean, what's interesting is obviously she's asking that so that he could lose voters. So
yeah, how would you feel about a federal ban?
I just feel terrible about the federal government having as much authority as it has now.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have to reduce the size of the federal government because I think we've got fundamentally now a conflict between the centralized federal government because it's quite large.
So if Trump says I'm in favor of a federal ban for abortion, does that change your vote for Trump?
Not at all. There's no option. The thing is, Biden is going to. We're really like I'm quite concerned. I've lost half my purchasing power because I buy like 8 2-liter bottles of Diet Pepsi a week.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to cost like $1.60. It now costs like $2.32. Everything is like 50 to 100% more in price.
Economics is what you're voting based on.
Economics, the stuff at the border that's just beyond.
Was there anything that Trump said that you didn't like? That you were like, that's
the only thing that he didn't say that I was thinking, oh, he should hit her with this, is stuff where I would have liked him to even, go harder after her. But that's because like there's just so much ground you can possibly cover. And he knows when he can get a punch in and when there's just not really a shot. But no, he took no stance that I thought was problematic. He took no stance that would turn me off to him as somebody that supports Trump. I saw the CNN panel. Van Jones was on. He has some interesting insights. And he was saying, what I was thinking about was, what do Democrats have to worry about? He said, Trump plays an interesting trick where he has references to nostalgia, like talking about making America great again. He's doing it again. And he's saying, like, if you remember the Trump years, low inflation, good jobs, good economy, no wars.
Pandemic.
Trump didn't cause a pandemic, but like, yeah.
The China virus.
He's not going to talk about that, yeah.
I do think Trump caused the pandemic because I think he pushed hard enough on China and other people that we wound up getting a pushback.
You think the pandemic was...
Wait. I don't think the pandemic was a complete mistake and a complete accident.
Okay, well, I don't. I just...
Well, what I'll also tell you is this.
Intentionally?
Well, I will tell you this.
Yeah.
When China knew about it,
yeah,
they kept it.
Well, they did, obviously, because they fucked up so bad.
Yeah, but the problem is that's at the world's expense.
Of course, yeah.
So that whether they deliberately did something or someone deliberately did something or they didn't, we do know that the government of China allowed it to spread further and faster.
But you got to admit, if they did it deliberately, it's a completely different scenario.
No, it's not, because it was worth. They made it. Listen, they were responsible for either all of it, or they're responsible for letting it get much, much, much worse faster.
Look, an accident that they tried to sweep under the rug is very different than we're intentionally going to release this on the world.
It's not just sweeping it under the rug. They allowed things to get worse. They allowed people to travel internationally.
No, I understand all of that. I understand all of that.
Yeah, but like if they did intentionally, that's like we're at war. Like we're gonna destroy your country. We're gonna like try to blow you up. Not like, oh, you just fucked up and are incompetent.
Yeah, no, it's Trump is, when Trump will say things like, oh, China was being negligent. I don't think they did it deliberately because of exactly what you just said, Sitch.
Right.
It's too big.
Yeah.
It's too big of an issue. It's like, yeah, that is an act of war. But China's done other stuff that's an act of war.
So what's your take on the Pence stuff? Trump basically made an argument that Pence could have thrown out the electors in the election. And
Trump made an argument to say that, as the president of the Senate, which Pence was because he was vice president, that Trump's attorneys advised Trump that, yes, Pence had the power as vice president to listen to the requests from the legislatures, because there were requests from state legislatures in Pennsylvania, in Georgia, possibly as well in Arizona. I'm not remembering all, but a couple of the states that were saying, listen, yes, we did certify this, but now we're pulling back the certs because something is not right with these elections and we can't get to the bottom of it. So we want you to not accept this. Give it back to us at the legislature. We'll solve it and get back to you in a couple of weeks.
None of that was happening at the state level, though. Obviously, we have
the state legislatures who are responsible for elections according to according to federal constitution, according to our constitution, were requesting to get back their authorization.
But we've heard from many election officials who basically said, that were Trump supporters that were asking Trump for evidence that there was election fraud so that they could use that evidence to overturn the election. The Trump campaign never came up with any decisive evidence for them, so they were unable to make a move. So
the legislatures made their move to request those certifications back from Pence. What was supposed to happen on January 6th, but didn't happen. You can ask Ray Epps why it didn't happen. But
I don't know anything about the Ray Epps stuff.
What didn't happen, I could do that in another show. What didn't happen was that was supposed to happen was there were going to be several contests that senators and congresspeople were going to make to the election of Joe Biden, contesting results. That was going to happen. It happened last time when Trump was elected. It's very common. These politicians do that kind of routinely. But there was more of a plan to do much more of it, contesting results. But yes, there's something called the Electoral Count Act, the same way there's something called the Presidential Records Act, separate issue. But the Electoral Count Act gave the authority to Pence.
So you think Pence had the authority to throw out the electors?
It's unquestionable that he did. And as Trump advised in the town hall, why did they change the Electoral Count Act? As Caitlin Collins said, to strengthen it. It's like, no. They changed it because, of course, he had the authority to do it.
Okay. Well,
it would have just, if Pence threw out the votes and it goes back to legislatures, and the legislatures essentially say that they're not going to follow, how the people voted, without any really solid evidence. I'm saying if they did, hypothetically, right?
Well, they wouldn't. The legislatures wouldn't say. Obviously, they wouldn't phrase it the way you did, Sitch. They wouldn't say.
Well, obviously, they're going to frame it that way.
They're going to say, "Hey, look, we're the ones who make the laws here. We're adjudicating this.
Mm-hmm.
We have judges that are making law, essentially changing mail-in ballot exceptions of things. We can't get a look at the mail-in ballots because they're hiding the damn things. It's even still going on in Arizona." That they can't get all of the ballots to check ballots for signatures.
Yeah, but are they going to hold? They weren't going to hold new elections.
I don't know what they're going to do or how they resolve it, but it might be that things would have been forced to be scrutinized.
Because
things were scrutinized though.
What was the oil spill lawyer's name?
What's that?
Who was the lawyer that defended Exxon? That was the one that drafted the letter.
Oh, I don't know.
You know what I'm talking about, Adam?
Yeah, the EPA attorney who Trump tried to put in charge.
Because in his the letter he wanted to send out, it wasn't even asking for any of that.
Oh, Jeff Clark. Jeff Clark. Yeah,
Jeff Clark, right. Yeah, he was just asking for the state legislatures to basically just not even really investigate, but just throw it out on their own and just, vote how they want it to go.
Well, if they have the authority to do it, they should be able to do it. If they don't,
right? But but I'm saying, if that would have happened, if Pence would have thrown out the votes and then it went back to state legislatures and state legislatures without really any solid evidence of voter fraud did that, I think you would. You'd literally get a civil war.
It was a massive mess because of what they did with the mail-in ballots. Trump got 81 million votes. Trump got 71 million votes, which is 12 million more votes than he got before. The mail-in ballot stuff was really kind of crazy. And there were people, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people who made statements under penalty of perjury of all sorts of fraud that they witnessed during the elections who were running the elections.
We're talking about, the problem is that, so this is why, with Barr was saying to Trump, that you need to be fighting this stuff a year before the election, and they didn't do it for whatever reason. And you can't really after the fact the result doesn't go the way you want, throw up your hands and say, oh, well, all these rules that were in place, now we're going to fight them after the result comes in. You just can't really do that. The optics of that is so awful. No one's really going to trust you at that point.
Yeah. Adam, do you know that Bill Barr told Trump to hire a bunch of attorneys. He basically gave them a heads up that the Democrats were changing these laws, and he said you need to put $10 million into a retainer, into an escrow account for retainer fees for attorneys to fight this stuff beforehand.
To fight all the state, election laws that we're gonna
I
do.
I mean, I don't know what that would. Bill Barr supposedly said that because Bill Barr was the head of DOJ.
Yeah.
So why would he be making campaign advisement of your campaign should invest in? It's not
I read Bill Barr's book, and Bill Barr talks about how he counseled Trump to do this. That's where I'm getting this from.
Yeah,
So
I don't know what the context was for the conversation.
Well, Bill Barr is probably not someone to trust for a number of
So
reasons.
you think you hold on a second here.
Yeah.
Why would Bill Barr, if Bill Barr is saying he told Trump to do this, and why would he lie about that?
I mean, probably for the same reason. If you recall, this is not something you necessarily have seen, but Bill Barr went on CNN and had an interview with Wolf Blitzer either a month or 2 months before the election. And he was lit. He was going berserk. Bill Barr, he was saying, these mail-in ballots, you're playing with fire here. And Wolf Blitzer saying, there's never been any proof of any fraud with mail-in ballots. I don't know what you're talking about, Bill Barr. Bill Barr was like, you are playing with fire. This could destroy the country. Like, Bill Barr was like more Trumpy than Trump about this stuff.
Well, this is what he was telling. It sounds like it goes with the story, though. This is what he was telling Trump before the election. He was saying you need to fight these mail-in ballots beforehand.
I honestly, I have no idea. I know he's not public. I haven't heard him say anything publicly now about how he didn't think that the mail-in ballots were fair the way he said it prior to the election. So there's also a thing of like, look, there's a whole establishment, obviously. These people all know each other. Bill Barr was the attorney general. This is his second time around as attorney general. They all know each other. It's a protected system. It's why you only see certain people getting in trouble, like George Santos got in trouble today. But, we're waiting 5-6 years on Hunter Biden to get in any kind of trouble for anything he did. And we've all seen, evidence and videos of all sorts of bizarre stuff. I have one funny Hunter Biden question. I don't know if you guys ever wondered this. Hunter Biden, let's say, is totally disconnected from Joe Biden, did his own thing, it was never corrupt with his father. How did Hunter Biden get into this whole network to be doing these deals for consulting, with all of these foreign, strange, corrupt officials? How do you get just plugged into a network where automatically, oh, don't worry, it's that guy's son. Okay, cool. Let's just wheel and deal with this guy, and just do wild deals in, Romania and China and Russia and one country after another, and Ukraine, all sorts of other stuff going.
You want to answer that, Sitch?
Well, okay. Well, I'll say answer, but I want to go back to the Bill Barr thing for a second.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, with Hunter, it's very obvious that he was, a very person of low moral standing who is selling his name and access, or at least the perception of access
totally.
to his father.
He's faking it.
To all these things. Now, I don't know. Well, I don't know if he's faking it. I mean, it
can't be perception of access, because I've done stuff with criminals before. I will tell you that. And when they give me money for stuff, they expect results. It's not just my normal business stuff.
Well, I mean, that would be the thing if the Republicans that are investigating this can produce the results, which would be
they're trying.
Obviously.
I mean, the hard drive is enough. It's enough for anyone sensible. Obviously, it would be enough.
Well, let's go back to the Bill Barr stuff.
I disagree, but
let's Bill Barr it.
The thing with the Bill Barr is, like, it sounds like you're kind of saying like, oh, Bill Barr is part of the, anti-Trump deep state conspiracy, the way that you were framing. Yes, but I don't buy this idea, because it's like, Bill Barr comes in, he defends Trump very strongly during his first impeachment, which, if the goal was to get rid of Trump, I don't know why you would do that. And then after that,
his goal wasn't to get rid of Trump at the time. His goal was to become the attorney general. So he wrote a letter in defense of Trump, which he was then able to leverage into position.
You could sabotage it, right? Why not sabotage it once you're there?
There's no way Trump was never going to get impeached because the Republicans weren't going to impeach him in the Senate.
Okay.
So he was never going to get fully impeached. He got impeached by, as he said, crazy.
It was part of the ruse. Okay. And
not
then after
ruse,
that,
it's how you get leverage. It's how you get, how you get people to trust you so you can do stuff.
So everything he's doing after that, this is all part of a ruse to what? Like, they know that the election is going to be contentious?
I don't know what ruse is. It's controlling the Department of Justice is actually really important for
Well,
power
no,
in
like in terms
Washington.
of like going against Trump, because like
It's not about going against
right
Trump.
before the election, like even right before the election, it's like Donald Trump is on Fox News multiple times, literally telling Bill Barr to go arrest Joe Biden before the election, and he's still defending Trump like, I don't feel pressured by this. You know, he's just saying what he's saying. Like
I
it's
don't
just
remember him saying to go arrest Joe Biden.
yeah, he was saying there was enough. He was saying there's enough evidence to indict Joe Biden and Barack Obama and everyone for spying on his campaign and
Well,
all this
that's
other
true.
stuff. And he said this like 3 or 4 times on Fox News the month before the election or weeks before the election. And they have Bill Barr and Wolf Blitzer sitting there with Bill Barr. And he's like, you know, do you feel it's appropriate for the president to be pressuring you to try to fucking indict, you know, the opponent right before the election comes out? And he's like, I don't feel pressured by any of this stuff. So it seemed like Bill Barr was basically defending him all throughout his entire presidency until we finally get to the election fraud stuff where Bill Barr says he doesn't think that it's valid. And then everyone says, oh, well, Bill Barr is really secretly against Donald Trump because he doesn't agree with this one thing.
Bill Barr was defending the institution of the DOJ so they could continue to go and do the silly things that they were doing and the corrupt stuff they were doing. I mean, the whole Mueller report thing, the whole Mueller investigation should have obviously never happened. That was ridiculous. It damaged the country tremendously.
He totally helped Trump with the Mueller report because remember, he superseded the release of it with his statement, which totally painted the narrative.
No, the creation of the whole Mueller special counsel that was based on the corruption with Clinton and her crazy dossier, her fraudulent dossier, and then that was then knowingly used by the FBI to spy on Trump, to do all of the underhanded crazy stuff, but even more importantly, to demonize Russia so that we could do what we're doing now, trying to have our proxy war turn into whatever other massive war that Russia's going. The neocons have always wanted war with Russia as quick as they can get it, to break it up and to steal their stuff. Because they stole Russia's stuff when it was first ruined from the Soviet Union. But there are neocons that have been wanting to start a war with Russia and whoever else they can as quick as they can forever.
Right, but okay. Well, first of all, I mean, the Mueller report started for a lot of reasons that had nothing to do with the Steele dossier.
That's not. I mean, that
is true. I mean, it started because
it was publicity. It was all publicity. That the Steele dossier, which was the basis for all the news stories, was the basis for the
that
Pfizer
wasn't the
report.
original basis.
Let's not relitigate the Mueller report.
Okay,
well, I mean, the basis Bill Barr is. I mean,
the original basis was Papadopoulos knowing about the emails being leaked before anyone else did. That was
we can disagree. We can disagree on all that. I'm more interested in just
okay, but my point was, I don't know how we got off of Mueller, because my point was, even with the Mueller stuff, Bill Barr still helped defend Trump in that regard by when the Mueller report was done. It was like a month before anyone got to see it or something. And it was like a week or a month, and Barr comes out with a statement that says Trump is basically exonerated and it's all fine. That completely taints the narrative. So again, it just seemed like he was helping Trump every step of the way.
The Mueller report, the thing is, I don't know if you know who Andrew Weissman is, right?
No.
He's the guy who actually ran the Mueller investigation.
Oh, okay.
He is a very corrupt, sleazy guy who destroyed Enron and had all sorts of convictions overturned by the Supreme Court. He was Mueller's, quote, pit bull, Andrew Weissman. You can look him up. He's an interesting character on MSNBC a lot. But anyway, he was trying to use the Mueller, basically doing all of the ridiculous corrupt stuff to accuse Trump of things that he never did. And the reason the Mueller report wound up being in a weird way when it was delivered was because there was a lot of it that was not supposed to be made public, and they were supposed to redact before it was turned in. It wasn't redacted by the Weissman team. They chose not to do that so that they'd be pressured to release the stuff. So Barr said, okay, here's the deal. There's a ridiculous worldwide firestorm for this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you my summary of it because I'm the head of the DOJ, and this is basically what it says. And all the other stuff that actually needs to be redacted and can't be made public will be redacted eventually, and some version of this will be made public, but not the whole thing, because as much as Andrew Weissman wanted to do it, and as much as it was funny to create this whole 2-year special counsel investigation.
It had a bunch of stuff in there that would be like release of state secrets, right? That's why he did it.
Whatever Andrew Weissman did, it's all about controlling narratives. It's all about, so there's something to be able to say.
Well, they didn't want to damage investigations, other
one of the things that because remember the Mueller report was
let's not relitigate the Mueller report. Okay,
I don't understand the conclusion because the Mueller report exonerated Trump from colluding with Russia.
There was no exoneration. There's no way to exonerate him. The whole thing was this was.
They said they didn't have that. They didn't find evidence of it.
Well, the thing is, actually, it was said that they said it in the report. Well, we can't exonerate him. They said they can't exonerate him. Trump said, I was exonerated. They investigated him and they found no reason to try to charge him with things, except to claim obstruction, which is one of their process crime nonsense things that they can always claim. We feel you didn't cooperate with us enough, so we're going to claim obstruction. It's unbelievable traps.
So why?
Yeah, but like, if the process is so corrupt, I mean, you don't think they could have created something to link Trump to Russia? I don't feel
they did. So they created a lot of stuff to
not
link
in the Mueller report. It completely says that they didn't that they looked through all the avenues and they didn't find any of it. I fucking read this fucking travesty of a report.
Oh my god, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yes, and it's like at the end of the what's happened for the Russian section, they said they didn't find any evidence that Trump had some backdoor communication
because the thing is,
Russia.
These people could give they don't give. I don't want to curse on your channel, but
you can curse on you.
They don't. All right. They don't give a fuck about the truth. They don't give a fuck about the country. They don't care if our kids live or die. Only if they get to molest them. That's what they care about.
Okay.
They care about their own power. And since the Obama years, they hardly even care about money anymore because they have unlimited amounts of it.
Look, I don't want to relitigate the past. I invited you on to get your perspective on whether or not Trump was going to win the election.
I blame Sitch for all this, basically.
It's my fault. It is my fault. That's fine.
I feel like we could wrap up here. I feel like we kind of understand your perspective. So
that's my perspective.
Yeah.
Okay.
Vote Trump. What else are you going to vote for, Biden?
Well, no, this is a good. If you're a Trump fan, this was a very good day for Trump. So he did very good.
I'm an America fan. So, I'm an America. I want us to maintain our constitutional rights.
Of course.
I don't want to hear good reasons why, you don't really need to have constitutional rights anymore. I don't want to hear that white supremacy is wanting to be safe on a train, where we're trying to perpetuate white supremacy because we want personal safety. I'm not saying that you're saying that, Sitch.
I understand. We're not saying that. We defend the guy who did the I forget the guy's name. So.
Neely or
not even Neely, but that's the narrative that they're putting out as white supremacy is what we typically
No,
expect.
I understand. We talked about it on Sunday. Yeah. We're not in favor. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't think the guy should be charged for what happened. So
well, I didn't see the whole thing and they should research it, but they should be fair and understand, like, don't put people in a situation. And also he had training and apparently he responded with his training. And he wasn't alone. Other people were assisting as well.
There was a black guy helping contain him, so it wasn't like a race.
It's funny. It's like, yes, but it's hard to say. It's like, there was even a black guy there. It doesn't make it right.
Well, you have to because they're trying to say it's racist. So
I'm going on the train tomorrow. Wish me luck.
I hope you survive.
I'll let you know what happens.
Yeah.
All right.
Just put on a face mask that looks like them, and I'm sure it'll be fine.
A face mask. I'll just keep my head down and bring my knife.
Hopefully, there won't be any protesters standing in front of the tracks preventing.
I won't go on a subway, but Long Island Railroad, so I should be okay.
Okay.
Well, thanks for jumping in, Adam. We'll say goodbye.
Yeah.
And then,
thanks, Adam.
Great to be with you guys. Appreciate you and congrats on the channel. Oh, if you want to check my channel out, AdamPostSpeaks.com.
Yeah, I'll put a link in the description for you too.
I am the king of Bud Light.
What is your channel name?
Adam Post, like the mail, AdamPostSpeaks.com.
There you go.
Yeah, make some nasty comments on my videos.
Okay, well,
all right, guys. Have a great night. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate you, and congrats on the channel.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Be well.
Elis, the Aquanaut for $2 says, like the stream, everyone. True. Like the stream. Asmi for 15 MYR says, judge the Prezzo by the color of his charisma, not by the content of his policy. I like that. That's very funny.
I mean, I'm down.
Honestly, when people argue about policy, there's like, all of us internet nerds care about policy. Like all the normies out there don't give a fuck.
They don't.
Normies give a fuck about policy. So
remember my assessment of Robert Kennedy?
Yeah, he can't win because of his voice.
Yeah,
I think you're right. Yeah, it's funny because I hear Scott Adams talking him up. I've always heard Scott Adams talking up Robert Kennedy.
Right.
And I remembered what Robert Kennedy sounded like before he had his throat surgery. And it was always a little weird. He always had kind of like that weird Kennedy speech voice thing that the Kennedys have.
Right.
And so I just assumed that's how he sounded. And then you DM me and you're like, what the fuck? Skyrim is high. Like he sounds like shit. And I'm like, oh, and I go and I look up, I'm like, oh my God, he sounds so awful. Like, you're so right, Adam. He's just he can't win with a voice like that.
Yeah,
I mean, it's unfortunate, but
he was on All In podcast, and man, I couldn't even listen to it. It was so bad.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh,
no-
yeah.
Go ahead. What?
I would say the other thing we should talk about, before we go, is so it's funny. Both me and Adam, we watched. If you guys remember, Katie recommended a video on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
It was a video she said that got her to turn against Vosh.
Yes.
And it was a video by a content creator called Soul Bunny, and her criticism was that Vosh just dismissed the video as the person that made it just as racist against white people. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. So both me and Adam watched this video separately, and we both come to the same conclusion that, oh no, we hate to agree with Vosh, but this video is super fucking racist against white people.
It is. Yeah.
And I'm kind of shocked. I almost wish that we had watched it before we talked to Katie, because I'm kind of shocked as to how someone would defend the video as not being racist. Like, if you were to tell me, Sitch, I want you to go out in the world and I want you to create, or if you've said, Sitch, I want you to create a YouTube video, use ChatGPT and say, create the like most racist, awful, stereotypical video of like that would make all CRT positions and all woke people look like they just really hate white people. Go create that like, video. And I tasked ChatGPT with like creating this video that'd be like the most negative racist stereotypes of CRT and everything. It would literally have created that fucking video that me and Adam watched. It was so awful. It was so like the first 3 minutes, it's like, if you complain about identity politics, because you're racist.
Yeah.
If you complain about like any of the woke stuff, it's because you're racist. It's just like, oh my God, it was wild. I couldn't believe it. And then it was a really funny. Chud Logic has a super long like coverage of it, but it's very funny. Chud is hilarious.
Did Chud cover that video?
He did.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
Interesting.
It's honestly hard to watch without Chud's coverage because I don't know. It's like the way that the person talks and they have like the ominous music going. It's just so preposterous. And they interview this like Asian lady who's so fucking racist, and she's literally the epitome of the meme of the lady who throws shit on the internet and the shit gets back at her. She starts screaming. There's this lady, get this, okay. This Asian lady's just like walking around in the world. She's like in a bookstore and she sees a book that's about like making good, noodles and dumplings.
Do you remember this exchange? Because this exchange, I totally remember. Yeah.
Yes. And she's, oh, by the way, this lady's a journalist. She's not like a random person. She's some kind of journalist. I forget for what publication. And she picks up this book about noodles and dumplings and she looks through it and she looks at the back and she sees a name and the name doesn't look Asian lady. To her. Yeah, so she Googles it and goes, the person that wrote the noodles book is a white lady. How dare she do this?
She gets so pissed.
Yes,
she's Asian.
Yes, she's Asian.
Yes.
So she goes on Twitter and she tweets out, so this woman's, the cover of the book from this woman and her picture. And she's like, why is this white lady writing about noodles and dumplings?
Cultural appropriation.
Yes, right. So, and obviously, and they never bring this up, obviously the intention here is to hurt this woman's book sales.
Of course.
Okay? That's the point. Try to get this book removed. And because it's like, I forget when this happened. This happened like in 2021 or something. This was like when people were starting to finally get bored of the cultural appropriation nonsense.
Right.
Because if this was in like 2017, I think it would have worked. But it's in 2021 and it didn't work. Everyone just fucking shit on this woman like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
White
You're an
people
idiot.
like noodles. Get over it, bitch.
Yes. Including Vosh. Oh my God. Vosh actually attacked this woman for this. And so did Keppel.
And I think Punish Mother did as well. Right?
And Punish Mother, yeah. A lot of the white.
All of the white queer people.
Yes.
That's what she kept saying. All the white queer people are hiding behind queerness.
And whiteness, yes. And so Soul Bunny reaches out to this fucking racist piece of shit. Person, this journalist who did this, and she just speaks to her for like 20 minutes, and this journalist is just fucking crying. Oh my God, I got so much harassment after I totally racistly tried to get this lady in trouble and it didn't work. And now people were just harassing me. And they're all doing it because they're all white and all the whites stick together. Like literally, she's saying this shit. I'm like, what the fuck? This woman's such a racist piece of shit. And she doesn't even stop there, because then it's like, was it Punished Mother or some of these other, or was Keffels or something? No, it's Keffels.
Yeah, Keffels got in on it.
Yeah, because Keffels kind of like mocked it, and then the Asian journalist, lady, she doubled down. She went and she found Keffels' tweet about it, and she said something like, I wonder why like they're defending this person, but she said it like white, like I wonder white this person is defending this person. So again, being like, oh, Keffels is a fucking white racist piece of shit, and then of course she gets shit on all again by Keffels' audience, and it's just like, fuck. This video is so fucking racist. It was disgustingly racist, and I can't fucking believe that anyone could watch this video and not just be like disgusted by the racism in it.
Well, it all began with her being racist, using the cultural appropriation that white people can't make noodles or make a noodle cookbook without being a racist, cultural appropriating piece of shit, right?
Yeah.
So that component is racist in and of itself. And then when she gets clap back from everyone, she's like, oh, everyone's racist for clapping back. It's like, it's Inception levels of racism here.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But I can't believe Katie recommended this video. Is like, she agrees with this narrative. This video this is one of the worst.
Well, that's why she was talking about cultural appropriation. Remember, she was upset about her dreads and stuff?
Yeah,
she watched this video and she's like, I'm a piece of shit too.
This video was disgustingly. This is one of the most racist fucking videos I've ever seen. So I said this video is like literally the stereotype of, Sitch, can you write the most racist CRT video possible?
She's got a tiny channel. We can't really dunk on her.
Listen, I don't give a fuck how big your audience is. You're a racist piece of shit. I will dunk on you. This person is a racist fucking asshole. Okay.
Are we doing this video?
No, we're not. I don't think it's so boring.
It is boring.
I could barely watch it. So.
It's super boring, yeah.
But I don't think we're gonna do it. But I just couldn't. It was so fucking racist. It was just shockingly racist.
Look, they're allowed to be racist, so that's why you get racism. I'm telling you, racism is the norm. You got to socialize that shit out of people.
If you want to watch it, watch Chud's coverage of it. It'll make it entertaining enough to watch because he's right. So.
JMac for $20 says, so you guys watched her video recommendation. I wonder if you watched Adam's video recommendation. Do you know what he's talking about there, Seth?
What was your video recommendation?
I recommended your video. I followed Katie just to kind of see what was up. I'm curious. What was going on. Yeah. And she tweeted something to the effect of, oh, I just was explained P plus P equals R or something. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder if she's seen Sitch's video on P plus P equals R. So I just, tweeted it at her. I didn't quote tweet her. Well, you should watch this. Yeah. I just responded. And she responded to me, oh, that's the guy that doesn't believe in systemic racism. And there was a little bit of a back and forth. I don't remember it perfectly, but I said something to the effect of, well, I mean, he does believe in systemic racism by your definition, obviously. You'd be an idiot to not think that there's disparities, right? And if you're literally defining racism that way, they obviously exist. So, but I try to keep it nice. I was jocular with her. I kind of would like her to come back on the show just because I thought it was a fun
Sure.
stream.
I'm like, I don't know how to talk about that fucking video. I get so triggered. It's so racist. It's so fucking right. That video is so racist.
I want her to bring a bunch of her friends because I think there was one tweet that I was a little saddened by because it seemed like she had a little post-stream regret. It really did. It seemed like I
wonder.
And I don't, it was a weird exchange because like halfway through this exchange, I think she was like, oh, you're Adam from the stream.
Oh, she didn't realize.
She didn't realize who I was. Yeah, exactly.
That's funny.
But I don't know. She may come back. She may not. Obviously, there's all these little worm tongues out there that are like, "Oh my god, those people."
Well, I feel like first of all, our audience would beg us not to have her on back, but then we get so much money when she's on because you guys hate her so much. So we're kind of in a weird spot here.
That's not a weird spot. It's just a great spot.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's a great spot.
Look,
Okay, it's true.
Look, Kidology also, I saw shared a clip of the stream, and I asked her to possibly come on. She didn't respond, obviously, but I think I could reach out to Wick
Shared
and
a
say,
clip of our stream?
yeah, the stream from Tuesday.
Oh, which clip?
You didn't see
Which
that?
part? No.
I retweeted it. So
Oh,
she
okay.
she was talking about how centrists are not privileged. She was basically fighting against what Katie was saying, which I thought was pretty cool. So, but if look, Kidology is too reasonable. Okay, that's gonna be like, is that really a stream that people want to see? Us, agreeing with Kidology for 2 hours?
She has some takes, I think that isn't she does she have some takes we disagree with?
Well, she said Jordan Peterson's all right. So, but
Okay.
do we want to defend Jordan
No,
Peterson at
not
this
really.
late
I mean, Jordan
stage?
Peterson's going crazier every day, so I feel less inclined to defend Jordan Peterson as every day.
I'm waiting for him to wear like his Halloween costume is a little too far for us.
He kept like yesterday. He kept tweeting out the picture of the clown from It. I was just like, can you please stop doing this?
Did he really?
He did it like 4 times.
Oh my god!
Stop! Please stop it, Jordan.
I love
Stop.
I love the old Jordan that I remember.
Where'd he go?
I want to listen to Akira the Dawn and remember the old Jordan.
Come back, Jordan, please. I mean, listen, I don't know because I haven't watched his content. So maybe it's just on Twitter that it's the craziness. So maybe he's totally fine still in video. I don't know. But
it's sad because I mean, we lost the fight for Jordan Peterson. We did. I know a lot of you really like Jordan Peterson, the further right Jordan Peterson, because you guys are further right, and you guys always,
it's not a question. It's not a question of being right or left. It's just I don't know. It
is for some people.
Well, no, that's not my problem with him. I don't care if he becomes more quote unquote right wing. I care it's just that it's like he had a level of, I thought, professionalism.
That's evaporated.
That's evaporated on Twitter. Yes, that's what I'm referring to.
Oh, okay. Well, I stopped following him on Twitter for probably for this reason.
Yeah. So
I saw he shared a clip of him with the meme guy, which I thought was pretty cool. A photo with the meme guy. Maybe he did a talk with him.
Dan Irish sent me the tweet where Katie said she wished she didn't come on.
I know Dan Irish.
Jesus Christ.
Dan Irish responded that I like Dan Irish's response was perfect.
That's a fucking holy shit. This reply is like
read
crazy.
It. Do it in a Katie voice for us, Sitch.
I can't do Katie voice. So you said I can only see the last response. So I don't know what the whole chain is. You said, thank you for coming to the show too. No hate here. If you don't want to see the video, feel free to ignore it.
That was just me sharing the video, yeah.
My video, yeah.
Yeah.
First of all, how dare you? You have to watch my video. She responded by saying, yeah, I low-key wish I hadn't. I didn't like how it ended. I was really torn up about it after. But it is what it is, or I wish I would have left. I let myself get comfortable, and I forgot an agenda doesn't stop just because centrists say they're open-minded or listening. Jesus Christ. What the fuck?
You broke her heart, Sitch. How dare you?
Because we talked about the facts about trans stuff that she didn't understand.
Well, I mean, after she left, we didn't do a bunch of shit talk. Like, even if she kept listening, I don't feel like we...
That's not what she's talking about, because at the end, like 90% of the conversation, we didn't really get into like fact stuff. And that's fine, because we were just kind of having like, philosophical surface level conversations. Well, not surface level, but like philosophical, moral
still
conversations.
Important, still totally important.
Which are not important, right? About how we see the world and things of that nature. But then she did the thing that pissed me off, where she had to try to fucking stab me in the back for being a transphobe or whatever. And so I was like, no, if we're gonna do that, I'm gonna explain my position to you before you call me a fucking transphobe. And since she didn't know how to deal with all these facts, right? She just felt like, she felt like she lost which is her perception about this is so weird. I don't know why she cares, because it's not like anyone in our audience, agrees with her regardless, right? So I'm curious as to why she thinks it matters that she lost on all the data arguments, because she doesn't know, how to defend against the data questions. Because even if we didn't have the data, she still would have looked bad to our audience regardless. So I guess I don't know why she cares about any of it.
She did the unthinkable, though. She questioned her own position, and she literally did. She did.
Right.
She even said to the effect, I could be wrong about this, which I was like, thank you. Like, I'm willing to admit that my position is incorrect if the data proves me wrong. What I have a problem with is the people who are saying, look, we know, as if you've had those peer-reviewed studies and long-term studies on puberty blockers and desistance rates and all this shit. When you don't have the confidence is what bugs the shit out of me. So the shakiness of her confidence, I think, was a win for us. And I think that's probably why all the people whispering in her ear are pissed off. They're like, listen, we got to keep each other. We believe this shit. How dare you question our
I guess.
theology?
I'm just from and maybe that's all it is. It's like you can't leave the cult vibe, from the worm tongues, because from a purely pragmatic position, it doesn't matter, because it's not like she was, like, if she was streaming on her own channel, right?
It does matter to her. These are her friends. These are the people that back her up online. Sitch.
No. What I mean is, like,
just like Dan Irish stabbing us in the back, we'd be like, Dan, no.
No, what I mean, I'm
no,
saying it's
not
like
you at 2, Dan.
Yeah, but she's not Lance. She doesn't have some big audience, so it's not like this is gonna get clipped out and everyone's gonna be like, "Oh my god, look at this!"
It doesn't matter.
But so why? So why does she care? It doesn't matter.
Cares because her 5 friends online.
Why the fuck do they care?
Probably because they're just jealous because she was like having fun.
Okay,
they're like, nobody invited us to the stream.
There you go. That must be it.
You were laughing and having a joyous time without us. How dare you?
Okay.
How dare you have fun laughing and giggling with those centrists? Oh, fraternizing with the enemy.
Right. Maybe.
That's exactly what was happening, man. Who knows why people get upset about this shit? I think jealousy is a good guess for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we don't know.
I don't know. I don't know.
My goal is to get her to get those 5 friends that are completely angry with her and get them to come on.
That would be interesting.
Look, I want a 5v2 where they basically give us whoever sent her DMs of paragraphs, let's come on and read them. Look,
read those paragraphs.
We're Team Truth here. Like, if we've missed something, we want to know. We're not, look, we don't hate trans people. I love my trans people, okay? Let them transition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't care.
I'm even look. You don't need gender I'm not even on the. You need gender dysphoria to transition.
Softer on it than I am.
Yeah. Look, we got to worry about the children, the little itty bitty children.
Mm.
Yeah, that's my only concern.
Speaking of Katie sent us $2. I don't know if you know this.
Oh no, guys, you make it so hard for me to book guests when. It's like it's fun because it's like a game. It's like, let's make it hard on Adam to book guests.
I love it. Katie for $2 says, "Listen, Sitch, you lug. The boy toy is in the other room listening to Vosh right now. Why don't you come over and show me what going down the center really means? I'll even talk condescending to you if you want me to."
That's beautiful. What going down the center really means.
There you go. I like
beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yeah, we never got the condescension talk. I was waiting for
it. Listen back to the stream.
I know. I am joking. Yes. We never got what I was curious as to what she considered condescending. So, but look, apparently there's some jealousy going on. Academic agent for $2.
Oh no, you're leaving a trail of them.
He says, Sitch, don't listen to that harlot. She's trying to dissuade you from the righteous path. Her tomboy abs progressivism will corrupt your immortal soul. Only together can you and I get to the heart of the Jewish question. So there you go.
Well, I think, I mean, she is Jewish, so I disagree, Quack. I mean,
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Quack and Katie can fight for my love. Dill's sanctimonious elephant for $2 says, here's some $2 for Sitch when he pays Adams $200. It's more than that, but who are you supporting this time around in the primaries and the final 2024 election, and why, if I may ask? S-class peas in the toilet and A-team peas in the sink.
what's wrong with that?
Ugh. So this might be the first election that I don't vote, honestly.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I switched. I think I'm technically a Democrat right now because I wanted to vote for Andrew Yang, but I think I got to switch. I really want to vote in the Republican primary.
So I think, as I said, I would be pretty strongly inclined to vote for DeSantis over Biden if DeSantis won the primary. I don't think DeSantis has a shot of winning the primary unless, Trump like becomes sick or goes to jail or something fucking crazy happens, which I'm not confident anything crazy will happen. And so if it's Trump versus Biden, I don't think I'm going to vote. I think I'm going to say, oh, it's a douche versus a turd sandwich.
There's always Kanye. There's always
I'm
Kanye.
not going to vote for I'm not going to vote for Hitler, the Hitler lover.
Black Hitler.
You're not going to vote for Black Hitler. No. I'm not going to vote for Ghazi Koto when he becomes Kanye's vice president. Okay.
Yeah. It's a tough one.
I take it back. There was one person more racist than Soul Bunny, and it was Ghazi Koto. I forgot about Gaz.
Well, that's look, I feel like you should have to suck it up and vote for someone anyway, just because.
No, why? Fuck you. I can do what I want. If I don't want to vote, I'm not going to vote.
I mean, I don't know.
It doesn't matter. Florida's going to go red anyway.
I vote. I will vote third party before I not vote, just because. I don't know. I like to.
Well, I mean, I'll vote for. I'll probably end up voting because there's other things. It's usually not just the president.
Yeah,
there's
totally.
usually other things on the ballot that I'll vote for. But I probably won't vote for president.
Right. I mean, ultimately, that's why I voted for Kanye, was because I couldn't really vote for Trump or Biden.
I'll vote for. I don't even know if there's any third party candidates I fucking.
You've changed your mind on Biden, huh? Wow. Biden loses your vote the second time around.
No, because it's there was nothing about the public option. Just not only was there nothing, there's no movement. Like there's no even attempt on the public option.
And he shit on the thing that I like that Trump did. He's not enforcing the hospital have to.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How's that? Yeah, that's not good.
Trump did some sort of executive order saying that hospitals and healthcare providers have to provide pricing because it's so fucked up. If you're getting an operation or something, you can't even find out how much the fucking thing costs.
Right.
And the Biden administration is like, whatever. They're not even enforcing it. So now the hospitals have, I guess they put on their website like a range. This operation will cost between $200,000 and $400,000. It's like,
yeah, thank you. Yeah,
that's not helpful.
Great. Yeah,
amazing, great.
So yeah, I mean, it's not even that they didn't get public option. There just wasn't even an attempt. They didn't even talk about it. It was like once he won, it's just like, oh, we're not going to ever talk about this ever again. So it just feels to me like a lie. He gave way too much into wokeness, or his staff is just, I mean, I don't know how much, he's so old, I don't know what's going on there. If he's just being puppeted, Weekend Bernie style.
He is Weekend at Bernie style. You got it.
And, his staff is just super, super woke, it seems like.
Yeah, all they care about is trans issues. They don't like public option. Fuck. That's white people are going to take advantage of that. No. You think we want the white option? Hell no.
Right. So I'm not gonna vote for Biden. I still really don't like Trump. I think he's a terrible president, so I'm not gonna vote for him either. So it'll be my first presidential election where I don't vote for the president.
Something might change. Who knows?
I doubt it.
Maybe Pence will win the nomination. You vote for Pence.
Okay. There's about a 0.1% chance of that happening.
Pence is definitely going to come out and say constitutional amendment banning abortion.
Yeah, he might.
Yeah. So do we have any more super chats? Or are we calling it a night?
Yeah. Donald J. Trump, look at that. It was Donald Trump. The Donald Trump.
Oh, nice.
For $2. Thank you, Donald. Donald says, I did not have sexual relations with that woman. I never told anybody to lie, not a single time. Never. These allegations are false. The worst allegations. That's what people tell me. Awful, terrible allegations. Thank you, Donald. I appreciate it.
That lady looks just like my wife. Who's that lady?
That was Donald Trump doing a Bill Clinton. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Permert J. DeLond for $2 says, thy political commentary is quite exquisite. I believe the election was entirely secure, and I promise to never allege a rigged election without ample evidence. I do not fancy abortion, but states' rights are paramount. Well, thank you.
Yeah. That's great.
John Benor for $2 says, amazing props on Wednesday stream. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Ostracy for $5 says, Sitch, you can't be racist to white people. P plus P equals R, duh.
Yep, that was her tweet.
There you go.
She'll
Raphael.
You guys watch.
Raphael Volante for $50. Thank you, Raphael. Says, y'all gonna help me stay sane at work tomorrow. This is gonna be a juicy vid. Appreciate all that you do. S-Class is the best class.
And A-Team is pretty cool too. Look at that.
Go.
Nice. Thank you so much. And that's very generous of you.
Right. Stog for $2 says, Sitch, write in your hero Maxine Waters.
Yeah. Sitch is a storied Maxine Waters fan. So.
Of course. Who should I write in? Who should I write in for my vote?
Vote for Adam Friended.
No, I don't want it to be like someone.
Friended.
I want it to be, you know how there's like, you look at like who voted for who, and then there's always like the people at the bottom that get like 1,000. Like I want it to be someone, I want to be on that list. I want to be one of those like 1,000 people. I don't want to be like, it didn't count because one person voted for Adam Friended.
Oh, really?
I want to be one of the like the 1,000 or one of the 10,000. Who's going to be at the bottom of that list?
Really? There are people. What list are you talking about?
Like if you ever look at like the full list of who they vote for president, I think it's like on Ballotpedia. It'll show like these tiny numbers at the bottom of like, you know, Bugs Bunny or something. Like,
No
it's like
way.
fucking weird people that get votes.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. And you want to be you want to
be
get
on
like
that list.
if you get 10,000 votes, do you think you're on that list? You make that list?
Well, whoever. Well, I'm on. Yeah, but one of those numbers is me. One vote for Doomer. Vote for J-Mac. Vote for Daffy Duck. Sammy G. There you go.
Yeah, I'd vote for Sammy G.
There you go. We'll vote for Tifa. What about Tifa?
Sure. I'll vote for Tifa if you vote for Tifa.
Bitch loves lists. That's true.
Look, I get an extra vote because I'm married. So
oh, okay.
We give 3 votes for Tifa.
Wait, where's the third one? Oh.
what do you mean?
Mrs.
Friended.
I'm not voting for Dave Smith.
Oh my God.
Okay, that's what I'm going to vote for. I'm going to vote for the phone call. I'm going to vote for
the perfect.
I'm going to vote for the Newland phone call. I'm going to write in the Newland phone call. Okay, that's what I'm voting for. I'm going to write in. I'm going to say, screw you, David Smith. Newland phone call. That's what I'm voting for president.
Victoria Newland. Write in Victoria Newland.
Whenever it's
That'll
the phone call. It's not Victoria Newland. It's the phone call. Whenever someone has a question that they have to ask the president, they just have to listen to the audio and try to derive an answer from it.
Yeah, I'm voting for AOC.
Disgusting. Adam's always thinking with his dick.
Everyone's doing these AI pictures of AOC now. They look pretty good.
Somebody sent that picture. I was like, oh, Adam's gonna like this picture.
They look pretty good.
Someone sent us some sexy AOC AI picture. And I was like, I bet Adam is excited about this.
I mean, I did save it to my computer. That's not true. I didn't actually do that.
Terrible.
I didn't actually do that.
When are you gonna put AOC's voice through the voice AI thing, and you're gonna have her like whisper sweet nothings in your ear?
I thought about saving it, but I thought, nah.
You're gonna want the AOC saying like, "Oh, I'm definitely 18."
Come on now.
Yeah, see, you say come on now, and you're like, no, really, come on now. Give it to me.
Look, that's not really even something I'm thinking about doing.
You
Look,
weren't until I said it. Now
I got
you
better
are.
things to do. I got better things to do
Sure.
with my time than
Sure. Yeah,
simp,
you'll
simp
ask
AOC.
you'll ask Andrew or Christian or someone else to do
I
it.
want to watch this Her Opponent full archive video.
Okay.
I think this looks interesting. Thank you, J-Mac, for turning us on. Look, this looks. Well, maybe we'll watch this
J-Mac
on the
says that
Sunday show.
J-Mac says you'll have AOC be condescending to you.
I mean that would be fun.
Adam, you are quite good at turning me on. There you go. There's your classic Simpsons reference. Fondue for $2 says, is Harambe still on the ballot? Oh, that's a good option. That was so long ago.
I don't think so.
Steg Fault for $2 says, I voted for Cthulhu in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
There you go, Cthulhu. That's a good vote. That's a good vote.
Yeah, definitely. Did he win?
I don't think. Well, I mean, maybe, maybe he did. Maybe Biden is just a meat puppet being a meat corpse being puppeted by Cthulhu. So.
What are these polls that Dan Irish sent us?
Oh, I forgot about that.
Democrats
I got interrupted by Adam.
Views
so the first
on
poll,
legality
yeah, I said the
of
first
abortion.
Poll, that 57% of Democrats were in favor of abortion under any circumstance. 38% wanted abortion with time limit.
Mm-hmm.
That was the Gallup poll. And then there was this NPR PBS Marist poll where 39% of Democrats wanted abortion at any time. 19% wanted abortion during the first 6 months, and 21% wanted during only the first 3 months. So slightly, that's 40% for abortion with time restrictions, and 39% with no time restrictions. So I'm very shocked that it's that high. So it's interesting because in the first poll that Dan showed, you can see it's like you can see like it's in 2010 where it really started to spike up. It was actually really recently that it really spiked up, because it was only like 2017, 2018. It was like still looked like the majority were in favor of restrictions, and only spiked up recently. So it seems like what happens is people, because this is what I hear from people on the right too. It seems like people adopt extreme positions out of fear of the other side's extreme position.
Yeah.
Say, oh, they're going to prevent you from getting abortions. So I was like, well, I'm in favor of abortion for anything. Oh, they're gonna have abortions for anything. Well, I'm in favor of restricting it all. So
yeah,
it's kind
that's
of
exactly what's happening. I noticed the independents seeing the most. Well, 29%. 31% are to be allowed only in cases of the life of the mother or incest, rape or incest of the life of the mother. That's the biggest thing.
The Gallup poll is actually significantly. We need more polls because the Gallup poll is significantly different than the Marist poll. Because in the Gallup poll, it says 36. It says 48% of independents said that they want abortion under certain circumstances, and still 36 is still a lot. 36% say that they want it under any circumstances, and 13% say they want it completely legal. But then the other poll says that only 12% of independents want abortions under any circumstance. And let's see, was it 30, 44? 43% want abortion with restrictions. And a whopping 31, 38, 56, no, 46, sorry, 46 independents want abortions basically illegal. So it's a pretty massive disparity in this polling data between Gallup and Marist. So I don't know. Interesting.
28% of Republicans are at the extreme position. Never in any circumstance or only in the case of the life of the mother.
According to the
I don't know, whatever the second one
the
is.
Marist poll.
Yeah.
Or yeah.
That's pretty crazy to me. That full 1 in 4. Yeah.
That would you say 28% want it to, well, I don't even understand these numbers. I don't, because they always ask the question. They say, you don't want there to be abortion under any circumstance, even including to save the life of the person. Who's voting for that on the poll?
13% of Republicans.
6% of Democrats vote for that. Is that just like trolls? Like what kind of psychopath is like, yeah, I think even if the person's gonna die, they shouldn't get an abortion. What the fuck is that even? Who's doing this?
Yeah, I don't
These are
know.
just people like just not looking at like bubbling the sheet wrong or something. Like what the fuck?
Yeah.
How does that make any sense? So I
Doesn't.
don't know. But then let's see, what does it say? According to the Gallup poll, it said 22% of Republicans want it illegal under all circumstances. And 10% want it legal under any circumstance. So I don't know. These polls are weird. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Though I guess that the other one says that too. It says 10% of Republicans want abortions legal during any time in pregnancy. So whatever. Polling's weird. People are weird. The Democrats adopt a position, and this will be interesting. We'll see, because Trump will probably have his position that he had in the town hall, and he'll have it during the debate with Joe Biden. Abortion will obviously come up and be a big issue. If Joe Biden picks up the stupid mantle of it's a woman's right to choose, and then they ask him specifically about a time restriction, and he gives no time restriction, I think the Democrats will basically take any of the energy they might have helping them about abortion, and they'll crumple it up and they'll throw it in the trash. So, which is very possible because politicians are very stupid.
Yeah, these polling numbers are really difficult for politicians because there's no like overwhelming majority to get to saddle up with and say, okay, this is my position. So you kind of got to keep it vague.
Well, it would be this is what I think the smart thing to do would be for Trump to basically not answer the question, like I said, not answer the question about a federal amendment, and just say, let the states decide for now.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
And
pass
then
the buck.
Pass the buck. And then the Democrat smart position would be to clearly say that you're in favor of abortion with time restriction into it, because you'll still get the people that want no restriction. They'll still side with you, right? They'll still come out to vote for that.
Of course.
So
what are they going to vote for? The pro-life position?
Right. But if Biden comes out and says that he's in favor of no restriction time for the abortion, people are gonna be like, wait a minute, that's a little fucking wacky. Like,
yeah.
So, well, I guess we'll find out. 2024 will be a fun and interesting election, and you just got to look at it with a little bit of humor instead of sadness.
I can't.
Anyways,
no Civil War this year.
No Civil War. Anyways, thank you all for coming.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you all for your incredibly generous donations.
Yeah, it's great.
There's no harmonica. This feels weird.
Oh, you want me to do harmonica? It doesn't feel right. It's like
feel right. Yeah.
This is like a serious. Wait, let's see if I can do. How do you do the serious election?
Okay, the words serious and harmonica don't go together. I don't know if you know this. Okay. You can't do a solemn harmonica sound.
I need to get a xylophone. I really feel like I need a xylophone.
No, you understand, like, it's a skill to play a xylophone. You can't just get one and be like, oh, just play xylophone all of a sudden.
Really? Kidda is playing a kazoo.
Oh, okay.
Kidda has a kazoo.
A kazoo?
A kazoo. Is it a kazoo or a kazoo?
A kazoo is much like a harmonica. You just kind of blow into it. Anyways, thank you for coming. Thank you all for your incredibly generous donations. Thank you, Adam Post, for coming out at the end. And thank you, the viewers who made it to the end of the stream. You are the true free will seekers. And we'll see you all on Sunday.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Billy. Bye. Get out of here now. Bye-bye.